The cold wind raged, and snow filled the sky. Under the cover of night, the towering trees clad in white snow stood like white iron towers in the wind, majestic and unmoving. The east of Redwood Ridge, outside an unremarkable cave. Xia Hong assumed a traditional long fist stance. After adjusting his breathing, his gaze suddenly turned sharp, and he swiftly threw a punch. Standing at 190 centimeters, he wasn't exactly muscular but was tall and robust. As he went through a set of punches, snowflakes fluttered around him instantly. Suddenly, a young boy with a youthful face walked out from the cave. Seeing Xia Hong, the boy's face was filled with obvious admiration. "Brother, you're about to break through to the lumberjack level, right? Almost. It should only take a month." "Tusk, you're amazing. Father said that geniuses who break through to the lumberjack level before the age of 18 have only appeared 3 times among the surrounding 9 camps. You'll be the 4th. Xia Hong raised his head, revealing a delicate face that didn't quite match his physique. Looking at his younger brother Xia Chuan's admiring face, Xia Hong felt pleased but, upon calming down, still shook his head slightly. Breaking through to the lumberjack level isn't much. There's even the excavation level at Rojal Camp. They're the real strong ones. Upon hearing excavation level, Xia Chuan's face instantly showed longing. Rojal Camp has 5 excavation level strongmen. It's said they can mine thousands of pounds of coal every day for the camp. Not only do they not need to burn wood for heating, but they can also forge sharp weapons with coal, making it easy to hunt low-level cold beasts. Xia Hong nodded slightly and said, "After all, it's a medium-sized camp of over 500 people. If they didn't have some strength, those cold beasts in Redwood Ridge wouldn't let them live so comfortably. It's a pity Father is injured. Otherwise, he would have been an excavation-level strongman long ago. If our great Xia had coal, it might have become a medium-sized camp by now." A medium-sized camp's standards are generally recognized as having over 500 people, possessing excavation-level strongmen, and being able to handle low-level cold beast tides. Currently, the Great Xia Camp has only 239 people and 13 lumberjack-level combat forces. With this much strength, forget about a cold beast tide. Even a slightly stronger intermediate cold beast could turn the entire camp into prey. Rojal Camp is too stingy. If they were willing to sell us some coal, it would be great. Coal not only provides warmth and refines iron, but also serves as an equivalent value to exchange for advanced supplies from giant camps. Rojal Camp itself doesn't have enough and wouldn't be willing to sell it to us. Besides, our small camp doesn't have anything valuable to exchange with them. What's more crucial is that if the other camps around Redwood Ridge also have coal, Rojal Camp's safety and weaponry advantages would cease to exist. The safety advantage can absorb the population, and the weaponry advantage ensures a crush in force. With these 2 advantages, Rojal Camp is undoubtedly the king in the Redwood Ridge area. Selling coal to other camps would be equivalent to giving up their strengths. As a time traveler, Xia Hong naturally sees farther than Xia Chuan does. A month ago he traveled here. From initial panic to calm acceptance, Xia Hong experienced no small amount of shock. This world is fraught with crises. The crisis isn't solely from the special species known as cold beast. There are also climate challenges and various unknown phenomena. This world only has winter, with no 4 seasons. Additionally, the temperatures here in winter are far more terrifying than those on Blue Star. With Xia Hong's unprofessional estimation, night temperatures were at least 70 degrees below zero, making it impossible for normal humans to survive. Even more absurd, day temperatures are colder than night. Not to mention normal humans. Even the ordinary people of this world would freeze to death during the day without adequate cold protection methods. Fortunately, the day lasts only 4 hours, so humans almost always operate at night, which is why Xia Hong practices martial arts under the cover of night. Additionally, because it's colder during the day, cold beasts are more active, more irritable, and their strength is several levels higher than at night. Therefore, whether for hunting or resource gathering, humans generally chose to venture out at night. Traveling to such a crisis-ridden, eternal winter world, most would have collapsed long ago. But not only did Xia Hong quickly adapt, but he also felt a thrill inside. Because before crossing, he was a patient with ALS. Born into a martial arts family, Xia Hong lost both parents at a young age. He practiced martial arts and fitness from an early age, living a much more regulated life than ordinary people. Fate played the biggest joke on him by bestowing an incurable disease. In his final days, Xia Hong stopped practicing martial arts. As long as he could move his hands, he immersed himself in mobile games until bedridden. When he confirmed that he was about to become immobile, he chose a sunny day to end it all. As it turned out, he came to this world and became the current Xia Hong. Although this world is fraught with crises, he is after all living a second life, already immensely grateful. Moreover, fate has given him such a robust and youthful body. Standing 191 centimeters tall and weighing over 90 kilograms, with a wasp waist and ape arms, he's just over 16 years old. According to internet discussions in his past life, this body was the perfect martial cultivation physique. Newly traversed, though youthful and robust, this body could exert only about 2,000 jin. However, the legendary Blue Star boxing champion Tyson was said to have a force of only 800 kilograms, converting to 1,600 jin. Initially, Xia Hong thought he was strong, until he witnessed an adult female in the camp effortlessly lift a 500 to 600 kilogram tree. He realized this world with its Tyson-level average human strength. Which makes sense, humans are products of their environment. In such extreme cold climates, if people didn't evolve, they couldn't possibly survive. Realizing his own weakness, Xia Hong naturally dared not slack off. His martial arts knowledge from the past life proved useful here. For practicality, he chose a set of Grand Ancestor Long Fist. In just a month, with the aid of cold beast flesh, his strength increased to 4,000 jin. According to his father Xia Ding, he was about to reach the 5,000 jin threshold for the lumberjack level. With lumberjack level strength, I can join the lumberjack team and at least see the world outside the camp. If it were in his past life, 5,000 jin of immense strength would be considered superhuman. But in this world, it's merely fitting to go chop trees. Exactly lumberjack level, as the name implies. At this level, one can go chop trees. Father has returned. Suddenly, Xia Chuan pointed in the direction of Redwood Ridge Forest and shouted. Xia Hong looked up to see a team of 12 swiftly emerging from deep within the woods. They were divided into 6 groups, each pair carrying a towering 20-meter tree, one in the front and one in the back. When the 6 teams with their 6 trees fully emerged from the forest, upon seeing the burly figure at the rear, Xia Hong and Xia Chuan finally broke into smiles. According to their father Xia Ding, every trip out is a gamble. Being able to return safely, without losing a single person, is definitely something to celebrate. However, as the 13-member lumberjack team approached, Xia Hong and Xia Chuan noticed that not only was there no joy on their faces, but they were full of seriousness and unease. The two hurried to greet them, with Xia Hong directly asking, "Father, what's wrong? How long until daybreak?" Even in Xia Ding's voice, he carried a noticeable facade of calmness, evidently gripped by extreme panic. But Xia Hong quickly lifted his head, checked the position of the bright moon, and gave an answer. "It should only be a quarter of an hour. Quick, get into the camp and have them put out the bonfires. No fires allowed." Upon hearing this, Xia Hong's pupils dilated instantly, his face full of bewilderment. "Father, putting out the bonfires during the day will freeze people in the camp. It's colder during the day than at night. Even hiding in a cave without a bonfire would lead to certain death." Xia Ding is the leader of the camp, understanding these things better than anyone. So why would he suddenly say such a thing? The deceitful monster in Redwood Ridge has emerged. Chapter 2 Thrilling Moment. A deceitful monster. Although it was the first time Xia Hong and Xia Chuan had heard the term deceitful monster, seeing the look of fear on their father's face, an inexplicable heaviness rose within them. Their father, Xia Ding, seemed too panic-stricken to address their confusion, and instead quickly ordered the 12 members of the logging team to carry 6 large trees into the cave. Without a moment's hesitation, he then led the people of the camp to completely seal the entrance of the cave. After sealing the entrance, Xia Ding looked at the bonfire in the center of the camp, a trace of hesitation appearing on his face. But soon he made a decision. "Extinguish the bonfire. Everyone, wear everything you have, huddle together for warmth. If anyone really can't bear it, you can light the bonfire, but only for 10 minutes. What, extinguish the bonfire? We'll freeze to death." "Leader, that's not possible. My son is still young, he can't take it." The mention of extinguishing the bonfire stirred up a huge wave of protest, with nearly 60% of the camp speaking out against it. The remaining 40%, apart from the members of the logging team who knew the situation, were evidently those of a cooler temperament, waiting for Xia Ding's explanation. Xia Ding raised his hand, and once everyone fell silent, he spoke in a deep voice. The deceitful monster from Redwood Ridge has emerged. Everyone at Iron Peak and Shenju camps has been wiped out. If we extinguish the bonfire, there's still a chance for survival. If that creature finds us, we'll all die. Just hearing the term deceitful monster caused little reaction amongst most people in the camp. Obviously, they didn't know much about the creature. But when they heard everyone at Iron Peak and Shenju camps had died, a look of shock crept over everyone's face, including Xia Hong. Each of those camps had a population of over 300. Redwood Ridge has 9 camps, with Rojal being the only medium-sized one, while the remaining 8, like Great Xia, are small camps. Even among small camps, some are stronger than others. Both camps were stronger than Great Xia. The Lord of Iron Peak Camp, Iron Eagle, is even a powerful digger-tier expert. And now Xia Ding said all 600 people across 2 camps were dead. Just how powerful is this deceitful monster? Put on your clothes quickly, extinguish the fire. Dawn is approaching, just endure for 4 hours. If someone really can't hold on, I will consider lighting the fire, don't worry. The people were dazed for a moment, but quickly followed Xia Ding's instructions. Xia Hong hurried back to his family's area inside the cave, gathering all the clothes he could wear. He directly tossed the thickest beast-hide coat to his younger brother Xia Chuan. Brother, you wear it, I have enough clothes. I'm stronger than you, my body is sturdier, don't worry. Stopping Xia Chuan from returning the coat, Xia Hong then ran back to where his father, Xia Ding, was located. The camp members acted swiftly. In less than 2 minutes, everyone was dressed and gathered in the center of the cave. Seeing everyone assembled, Xia Ding nodded to the 4 people standing by the bonfire holding beast hides, ready to extinguish the fire. The 4 of them made a few fast moves and extinguished the 2-meter-high flames. The entrance of the cave was already sealed, and without the firelight, the cave immediately fell into darkness. Accompanying the darkness was the cold that quickly settled in. The moment the fire was extinguished, the temperature in the cave started dropping rapidly, at a rate perceivable by the human body. There were over 200 camp members, not just randomly huddled together. The youngest children were in the center, surrounded by women. Further out were adult males, and on the outermost edge were the 13 members of the logging team. Elderly? There's no elderly, not only in Great Xia, but there are almost no elderly in any camps. In such an end-of-winter scenario, ordinary elderly people cannot survive. As sons of the leader, Xia Hong and Xia Chuan didn't receive any special treatment and were placed in the outer area. Time slowly ticked by, and within an hour, the temperature dropped to more than half of what it was with the bonfire. The children in the inner circle began to chatter their teeth from the cold. The women in the middle also started to shiver. The adult men on the outer edge were relatively better, only trembling slightly. The most stable were still the 13 members of the logging team on the extreme outer edge. Leader, maybe we should light the fire. One woman, seeing her child's lips turning blue from the cold, couldn't help but speak up to Xia Ding. However, she was interrupted by Xia Ding before she could finish. Let me tell you about the deceitful monster from Redwood Ridge. Although everyone was cold, hearing the term deceitful monster, they couldn't help but look up at Xia Ding in the darkness. Though they understood Xia Ding wanted to distract them, to help them hold out a bit longer, the mysteries that had troubled them were finally about to be answered, so Xia Hong also perked up his ears to listen carefully. That deceitful monster from Redwood Ridge. I've never seen it myself, but heard of it from an old friend of mine at Rojal Camp. In fact, not just me, but amongst the 9 camps around Redwood Ridge. Only one person has seen the creature and survived. Who? Xia Chuan, being young and brimming with curiosity, couldn't hold back the question, breaking the silence where everyone was listening in rapt attention. Of course, he was essentially voicing the question for everyone else. Luo Feng from Rojal Camp. Well, at the mention of Luo Feng, the crowd gathered together suddenly erupted in chatter. Even Xia Hong couldn't help showing an expression of surprise. Luo Feng, the former leader of Rojal Camp, was rumored to be the first digger-tier expert of Redwood Ridge. More than 20 years ago, Rojal Camp was quite similar to Great Xia, just a small camp with just over 200 people. It was under Luo Feng's leadership that it grew and became a medium-sized camp. Surprise among the crowd was due to Luo Feng's reputation. Additionally, the man was rumored to have gone mad. 15 years ago, a sensational piece of news spread from Rojal camp, claiming Luo Feng had gone mad while practicing cultivation and had personally killed his own son, causing quite a stir. Could his madness be related to the deceitful monster? You guessed it right, Luo Feng's madness was indeed because of that deceitful monster. While leading a hunting team, he encountered the creature. The team consisted of 20 people, but he was the only one who survived. Yet after returning to Rojal camp, one night he suddenly went crazy for unknown reasons and killed his young son. When he regained consciousness, he had gone mad. Before he went mad, he instructed the hunting team at Rojal camp not to venture deep into Redwood Ridge and shared some information about the deceitful monster. This is how a small number of people at Rojal camp came to know about the creature, and I learned it from them. What does that deceitful monster look like? It was again Xia Chuan who couldn't suppress his curiosity, asking the question. Xia Ding paused before answering. It has no specific appearance. It is said that deceitful monster can transform into anyone's appearance. Transform into anyone. Isn't that an immortal technique? 72 transformations. Although he knew this was a supernatural world, hearing such a detail left Xia Hong quite shaken. Can it really not be distinguished? Even Xia Hong couldn't help but ask. Xia Ding seemed surprised by his question and replied after a moment of silence. There's no way to tell, no matter what method you use. If it transformed into someone else, what would it do? Yet another key question was raised, and Xia Hong listened intently. Xia Ding's voice suddenly turned grave. It is said it would transform into someone you trust to gain your complete trust. Once you fully trust it, you'd immediately become a human post. Human post. A human post standing motionless. And then, it would use a small knife to slice away all your flesh, bit by bit. No matter how painful it is, you won't die until every piece of flesh is completely cut off. Gasp. All gasped collectively, sucking in a breath of cold air. The pain must be unbearable, but death won't come easily. Can the deceitful monster be so perverse? Everyone was frightened by Xia Ding's words, and the entire cave fell silent instantly. However, just then, a clear voice echoed from outside the cave. Why seal the cave so early? Open up, we're back. With a swish, everyone huddled together inside the cave stiffened at once upon hearing the voice, including Xia Hong. Open the door quickly, didn't you hear? Another voice came, and in the pitch-black cave, everyone's eyes widened in shock. All of them first glanced at the cave entrance. Then they turned their heads towards Xia Ding, who had been talking. The shock on their faces transformed into intense fear, because the voice from outside the cave was also Xia Ding's voice. Chapter 3:3 Indistinguishable Truth from Falsehood. What's happening? Xia Hong couldn't help but feel deeply anxious at this moment. To Xia Ding's. Is the one outside a fake? Don't panic, it's the deceitful monster trying to lure us out. Stay quiet. The deceitful monster follows the light. Since we haven't lit a fire, it doesn't know someone is inside. It will leave soon. Xia Ding inside the cave seemed frightened too. Although he was comforting everyone, the panic in his voice was quite evident. Brother, what's going on? Xia Hong was bewildered, not realizing until Xia Chuan, who had quietly approached, called him, bringing him back to his senses. He first bowed his head and thought for a moment, then quietly asked Xia Chuan, Did you notice anything unusual when Father came back earlier? Realizing the importance of this question, Xia Chuan showed a tense expression and hurriedly recalled the scene when Xia Ding and the hunting team returned. But after thinking for a while, he still shook his head. Xia Hong let out a breath. It was within his expectations. When Xia Ding brought the hunting team back just now, he was indeed present, and there was truly nothing unusual. The one inside the cave should indeed be their father. But just as Xia Hong made this judgment, an unexpected event occurred. The Xia Ding, outside, actually pulled apart the branches at the cave entrance. It wasn't yet dawn, but at the moment the entrance was opened, a faint light came in. The cave, without any fire in such a pitch-dark environment, even the slightest light was enough to illuminate the fear on everyone's faces clearly. And seeing the scene outside the cave, everyone's fear was magnified several times. because standing outside the cave was not only Xia Ding. The 12 members of the hunting team led by Xia Ding were also prominently present. At this point, everyone was dumbfounded. Xia Hong and Xia Chuan, the brothers, were even more stunned, their pupils contracting in shock. They had just greeted the 13 members of the hunting team outside the cave. Now the identical 13 appeared again. How could they not be shocked? Xia Ding came inside. The Xia Ding inside the cave hurried with the 12 hunting team members towards the entrance, blocking everyone's front. The two Xia Dings looked at each other, first sharing a glance of horror. Then came fear and rage. Among the crowd, Xia Hong, although silent, kept his eyes fixed on the two Xia Dings and the people behind them, not daring to miss any subtle details, no matter how slight. At this point, one thing was 100% certain. The deceit from Redwood Ridge was standing right in front of them. Among the two Xia Dings, one must be the deceit. According to the Xia Ding inside the cave earlier, the deceit from Redwood Ridge kills by deceiving trust, so identifying the real one would certainly help. That's why he tirelessly tried to tell them apart using the faint light from all angles. Unfortunately, after checking again and again, he hopelessly discovered that there were no differences between the two. From appearance and clothing to small expressions and various tiny details, the two Xia Dings, including the hunting team members behind them, were exactly the same, indistinguishable. And amid his distinguishing attempts, the two Xia Dings had each begun fighting with the 12 team members behind them. The originally spacious cave quickly became cramped with over 20 people fighting inside, and the camp occupants retreated to the back of the cave. Though Xia Hong retreated, his gaze never left the two Xia Dings, fearing that once out of sight, he wouldn't be able to tell which was inside or outside the cave. When the first Xia Ding came back, it was nearly dawn. Blocking the entrance, extinguishing the fire, and then this fight after so long, the light outside the cave became more and more apparent. The white light was bone-chilling. Those who hid in the inner cave showed increasingly deep fear on their faces, and their bodies gradually trembled. Although Xia Hong maintained a calm expression, his heart grew heavier. Daytime in this world is even colder than nighttime. Moreover, cold beast activity is also more frequent during the day. If the entrance remains open, even if they luckily withstand the low temperatures, it could very well attract cold beasts, resulting in everyone's death together in the end. They must find a way, a solution must be found. And just as he was anxiously hastening through his thoughts, the two Xia Dings spoke out. Hong Chuan, it's almost daylight, take everyone and seal the entrance. I'm here, the deceit won't harm you. At this point it's still pretending. Hong Chuan, don't listen to him. Help us drive it away first, drive it away and then seal the entrance. Named Xia Chuan, almost reflexively, he rushed to the left. The one on the left was the Xia Ding, who came back to the cave first. Evidently, Xia Chuan was also watching the two Xia Dings closely, able to tell them apart. However, just as he rushed 2 steps, he was abruptly pulled back by a hand. Brother, don't act rashly. Is he real? Are you 100% sure? Upon hearing Xia Hong's question, Xia Chuan was momentarily stunned. Internally, he leaned towards the Xia Ding who returned to the cave first. After all, that Xia Ding not only helped the entire camp extinguish the fire, seal the entrance, but also informed them about the deceitful monster. But when asked to confirm 100%, he dared not say for sure. For regardless of the two Xia Dings or the 2 teams of hunting members, whether in appearance or action nuances, there were truly no differences. Even the strength they displayed during the fight was identical. The deceit will turn into someone you trust, deceiving your trust, and once you fully trust it, you'll become a puppet at its mercy. This phrase flashed through Xia Hong's mind, making his heart skip a beat, rising into his throat. Whether the Xia Ding who returned to the cave first is genuine or not. At least this statement, Xia Hong can now confirm is true. Since the deceit bothered to stage such a scene, it proves it indeed needs to completely win over everyone's trust at the camp. Faced with 2 options at the moment. 1. Follow what the Xia Ding in the back says, and seal the cave first. 2. Help the Xia Ding, who returned first to defeat the Xia Ding who came back later. In such life-and-death stakes, the decision made represents the absolute trust of the camp. This means once they choose wrong, these people would all turn into puppets. They would die. At this point, realizing this, not only Xia Ding, Xia Chuan, and a few others at the camp turned tense. Many turned their gazes toward Xia Hong. Placing their hopes in him wasn't just because of his identity as the leader's son. Besides Xia Ding and the 12 hunting members, Xia Hong was the strongest in the camp. The people fighting at the entrance evidently realized this too. Both Xia Dings wore anxious expressions. Seeing that everyone had entrusted the choice to Xia Hong, they hurriedly spoke up to prove their honesty. Hong, I returned to the cave first. I'm real. Don't believe him. Pure trust in him will lead us all to death. Hong, I'm the real one. That deceit is best at beguiling people. First, it turned into me, returned to the cave, intentionally leaked information to you, just to gain your trust now. You absolutely cannot trust him. Hong, last month when you were knocked out by an icicle, I helped apply medicine. Chuan, remember the stone dagger I helped you sharpen last night? But such statements only made everyone more confused. Both could voice out things about Xia Hong and Xia Chuan, even clear about their long-standing injuries. Xia Hong alone, upon hearing the different things each Xia Ding said about him and Xia Chuan, his body quivered slightly, pulling Xia Chuan's right hand abruptly. Xia Chuan looked back puzzled, meeting Xia Hong's gaze. Instantly, Xia Chuan's pupils also shrank sharply. Evidently, he realized something as well. P.S. Can you tell which one is real and which is fake? It should be quite obvious, right? Chapter 4:4 Golden Finger arrives. Xia Hong gave Xia Chuan a glance and quietly handed him a hand axe. He then walked to the front and spoke to the two Xia Dings. Father, we brothers cannot tell who is real and who is fake. Can we each stand on one side, get a closer look, and then make our decision? All right, come on. The two Xia Dings replied in unison, clearly confident. Xia Hong took a deep breath, patted his younger brother Xia Chuan, signaling him to go to the left, while he walked towards the Xia Ding on the right. The two brothers stepped forward simultaneously, arriving in front of the two Xia Dings at almost the same time. Xia Hong widened his eyes, scrutinizing the Xia Ding on the right from head to toe. As if not examining carefully enough, he even walked around him to inspect from the back. Xia Ding's face was full of honesty, his expression confident, allowing Xia Hong to circle around him, even straightening his posture for a clearer view. However, the moment Xia Hong stood behind him, his eyes were instantly tinged with a bloody glow, and his expression turned ferocious immediately. Do it! A sudden shout stunned everyone. They saw Xia Hong and Xia Chuan both raise their hand axes, aiming at the Xia Ding in front of them, and swung down fiercely. Bang! The hand axe collided with the head. One would expect brains and gore, an utterly gruesome scene. In reality, though, Xia Chuan's axe hadn't even landed on Xia Ding's head before the opponent caught it bare-handed. Yet Xia Hong, being stronger, managed to strike Xia Ding's head with the axe, firmly splitting the head in two. However, horrifyingly, Xia Ding's head had no pus or brain matter coming out, instead splitting like a piece of wood, cleaved but still attached to the neck. Even more chilling was that with his head split open, Xia Ding's eyes were still moving, examining Xia Hong with interest, even revealing a smile on his face. Yet that smile looked sinister, no matter how one looked at it. Chuan, retreat! Xia Hong didn't have time to pull out the stone axe and shouted to Xia Chuan on the other side, retreating rapidly towards the camp's crowd. Hearing this, Xia Chuan also quickly withdrew, directly abandoning the stone axe and retreating backward. Everyone in the camp had just been scared stiff by the brothers' actions, and now seeing Xia Ding's appearance, how could they not understand? Clearly, the Xia Ding who came back later on the right was the fake one. What about the one on the left? Why did Xia Chuan launch a sneak attack? Is he fake too? Amid the crowd's suspicion, the Xia Ding on the left moved. He walked up to the Xia Ding on the right, reached into the split head, gently stroked twice, and then pressed both sides, closing it back together. The split head miraculously sealed itself. Moreover, that Xia Ding even twisted his neck a bit, then turned to look at Xia Hong standing in front of the camp people with a sinister smile. This eerie scene couldn't help but send chills down the spine of the camp members. The Xia Ding on the left stepped out and spoke to Xia Hong. Interesting, interesting. My two creations look exactly like your father and didn't show any flaws. How did you two figure it out? His voice sounded like wood chips rubbing together, hoarse, harsh, and strange. Assuming one of you is real and one fake, the fake one definitely wouldn't know so much about us, nor about father, but both of you seem to know everything, so. Xia Hong paused here, his expression becoming gloomy. Of course, Xia Ding couldn't have revealed everything to them. This deceitful monster knew so much about the camp and Xia Ding. There's only one possibility. Heh, quite clever. That Xia Ding was running in the opposite direction of your camp before he died, trying to lure me away. Seems he cared a lot about you people. I'll kill you. Beside him, Xia Chuan, upon hearing about his father Xia Ding's death from the deceitful monster's mouth, suddenly lost control and charged at the monster bare-handed. Xia Hong quickly stopped him with sharp eyes. Calm down. To say Xia Hong wasn't hurt was a lie. The problem now is that there's no time to be hurt. The two Xia Dings already closed in, and those 24 logging team members followed expressionlessly, clearly planning to attack. Everyone fight desperately, and there may still be a chance to survive. Xia Hong did not hesitate, letting out an angry roar and rushing forward directly. Even though he said so, Xia Hong had no assurance in his heart. With 26 logging-level fighters, even if over 200 people in the camp fought for their lives, the hope wasn't great. What's more, about that deceitful monster capable of transforming into Xia Ding, he knew nothing. Surely, its abilities go beyond transformation. Could it be, having just transmigrated for a month, is this the end? The answer was apparent. The people in the camp indeed followed his charge with a loud roar. But those two Xia Dings were almost one punch per person. In a short while, they killed at least 20 people. Blood-splattered wails rose. Soon, a thick scent of blood filled the cave. Bam! Xia Hong was kicked, slamming fiercely against the cave wall, reverse blood gushing from his mouth. Watching the bloody massacre inside the cave, a deep despair rose in his heart. Throughout this month of transmigration, he self-assumed his diligence, constantly thinking about enhancing his strength. Because no matter if it was Father Xia Ding or previous logging team members, they constantly reminded him of the outside world's danger. But with steady power growth and the Z-calm life inside the cave, he gradually thought this was merely a slightly colder other world. It wasn't until now that he truly realized. The world's danger far exceeded imagination. His self-claimed efforts were negligible before the deceitful monster. Brother, save me. Xia Chuan's hoarse, low sobbing voice reached his ears. Turning his head, Xia Hong was suddenly furious, overwhelming anger surging in his heart. That Xia Ding, with a sadistic grin, was choking Xia Chuan's neck, pressing him against the wall. Seemingly indulging in some play, the monster deliberately eased off some strength, not instantly breaking Xia Chuan's neck, gradually increasing force, causing Xia Chuan growing suffocation and pain. Since transmigrating to this world for a month, because his father Xia Ding often went out, only returning at night, and even when back spoke little. Therefore, Xia Hong did not have deep feelings for Xia Ding. In contrast, he valued his brother Xia Chuan, whom he lived with day and night, more. The monster's grip grew stronger, Xia Chuan's throat constantly compressed, blood seeped from eyes, ears, mouth, and nose, his expression turning more twisted. At that very moment, Xia Hong harbored no fear of death, only a self-hatred for being powerless and a desperate yearning for strength. If only I were stronger, a bit stronger. The slaughter within the cave continued. Already 5 to 6 dozen corpses littered the ground. Many went madly running towards the cave exit, but neither their speed nor strength matched the enemy, often getting slain before even reaching the exit. Encountered catastrophic damage, system reconstructing the camp, gifted a basic building, small bonfire, please collect attentively. At this moment, a voice resounded in his mind. Xia Hong felt that as someone who lived twice, he had never heard a sound so beautiful. Chapter 5 The Small Bonfire. Small fire pit can greatly increase the temperature in a 10-meter radius with a deterrent and destructive function against primary monsters, but at the same time it strongly attracts the cold beast. Daily consumption. Wood 2, first ignition is complimentary, no consumption for 10 minutes. Xia Hong didn't have time to carefully check the so-called camp system, and just focused on quickly searching for what he needed among a large amount of information. It has a deterrent and destructive function against primary monsters. This is what he wanted. Xia Hong turned his head to look at Xia Chuan, who was almost on the verge of death, forcing himself to stand up and stare intently at the fake Xia Ding. A tiny spark suddenly appeared in front of Xia Chuan. The fake Xia Ding looked down at the flame in front of him, frowning as he sensed something was amiss. But the spark was weak, seemingly non-threatening. However, in the next second, the spark exploded violently, and a more than 3-meter-high crimson flame surged up suddenly. The flame seemed ready to spread like wildfire, rapidly expanding its range, engulfing not only the fake Xia Ding around Xia Chuan, but also 2 other nearby fake logging team members who were directly consumed by the fire. What is this? What kind of fire is this? In just an instant, the fake Xia Ding, swallowed by the flames, let out a terrified, heartbreaking scream. Meanwhile, the other 2 fake logging team members didn't even have time to make a sound, and were directly turned into 2 plumes of black smoke. The body of the fake Xia Ding twisted and moved constantly within the flames, apparently trying to escape, but the flames clung to him like a leech. His previously intact body was incinerated into a crimson skeleton in an instant, and then even the skeleton was burnt to ashes, turning into a plume of black smoke like the other 2 fake logging team members and completely dissipating. Meanwhile, Xia Hong had already supported Xia Chuan and turned to watch the campfire still burning in place, his face suddenly filled with hope. "Brother, what is this campfire?" "I don't know, but we are saved." The fake Xia Ding remained undying even when his head was split open. But when encountering this small fire pit, he was reduced to ashes in an instant. "Everyone stop fighting, come to the fire pit quickly." Xia Hong turned his head and shouted at the people still desperately resisting inside the cave. Someone had already noticed the scene of the fake Xia Ding being burned to death, and with this shout, all the remaining survivors quickly gathered towards him. Soon, all the more than 100 people left in the camp had withdrawn from the battle and gathered behind Xia Hong. Casualties in the camp were heavy, while on the deceitful monster's side, except for the 3 accidentally burned to death by the small fire pit, the remaining 23 were completely untouched. Another Xia Ding led the remaining 22 fake logging team members towards the fire pit. However, they stopped more than 10 meters away from the fire pit. Watching the fire pit, the fake Xia Ding's eyes were full of dread. But seemingly unwilling to let Xia Hong and his group go, he opened his mouth with a cold smile after a moment. "Little thing, how long can your fire burn?" "For a very long time." Xia Hong also sneered and turned back to Xia Chuan and others, saying, "Bring over all the wood from the back and expand the flames." The camp's wood was conveniently placed on the side against the wall. Hearing this, everyone quickly moved the wood from that side of the wall. As the wood was continually added, the fire from the small fire pit also kept expanding. Moreover, Xia Hong and others intentionally guided the wood towards the group of fake Xia Ding. Soon, the firelight illuminated the entire cave. And the group of fake Xia Ding, as the flames spread, the dread in their eyes intensified, and they continued to retreat. The standoff with the group lasted for over an hour, until forced to the cave entrance by the flames, seeing everyone still relentlessly bringing more wood, the fake Xia Ding finally showed a look of resentment on his face, gave Xia Hong a deep look, and then turned to leave with the remaining fake logging team members. It was already dawn, and Xia Hong and the others dared not leave the vicinity of the fire pit, only able to watch the departing group from afar. When they could no longer see them, confirming that the others had indeed gone far, Xia Hong finally breathed a sigh of relief, and a strong sense of exhaustion surged through him. "Brother, this bonfire seems problematic." "I know, it only works within a 10-meter radius. The fire elsewhere is no different from the ones we previously kindled." Xia Hong's back was already soaked in cold sweat. He had realized it when the flames exceeded the 10-meter radius. The fire in the cave had been spread to 50 or 60 meters, yet beyond the initial small fire pit's 10-meter range, the increase in temperature in the other areas was the same as their previous fires. Thinking back on the small fire pit system description, Xia Hong roughly understood. The small fire pit only worked within a 10-meter radius. Even if other means were used to expand the fire, it wouldn't be effective. Similarly, only the small fire pit had a deterrent and destructive effect on deceitful monsters. The other fires they ignited were utterly useless. What he did afterwards was merely bluffing to scare the deceitful monsters. Fortunately, the opponent fell for it. After surviving, there was not a shred of joy in the cave, because disasters are often accompanied by endless pain. At this moment, many people had realized that the real Xia Ding and his people had met with misfortune. Those 12 logging team members were 12 families. Combined with the massacre just inside the cave, at least 70 lives were lost. The entire cave was filled with wailing and crying. Is the leader really dead? Is my husband also dead? My son was killed. Mother, wake up. Aside from the sadness welling up within him, Xia Hong felt a stronger sense of frustration. From beginning to end, about that deceit from Redwood Ridge, he knew nothing. He didn't even know what the opponent's true form looked like. Initially, after the two fake Xia Ding were exposed, it was the one ambushed by Xia Chuan who took the lead, and the one he had split open was just acting in a muddled manner, not appearing intelligent. After the first one was burned to death by the small fire pit, the muddled one came out to lead and speak. This was enough to prove that the two fake Xia Ding were not the real body. In other words, that deceit from Redwood Ridge had never even shown up, yet it inflicted such severe damage on them. Additionally, how those two Xia Ding and the 24 fake logging team members were created and controlled by the opponent was entirely unknown to him. The opponent easily made a move, and they suffered heavy casualties. The crucial point is that, after sacrificing so many people, they did not obtain even a shred of useful information about the opponent. This sense of powerlessness made Xia Hong feel extremely frustrated. Of course, more than that, there was fear. He turned around and looked around the cave, seeing most people still immersed in sorrow. Xia Hong took a deep breath, walked to the cave entrance alone, picked up stones and wood nearby, and began to seal the entrance. After all that had happened, it was already dawning, and the temperature was dropping rapidly. If they didn't seal the entrance quickly, people would freeze to death. Moreover, if they accidentally attracted the cold beast, it would make things even worse. Xia Hong's actions also served as a reminder for the others. Xia Chuan was the first to step forward and help, followed by a second and a third. In the end, regardless of men, women, or even children, everyone came to help. Xia Hong glanced back at the camp's people, and despite the cold, a faint feeling of warmth rose in his heart. Chapter 6:6 Moving. The entrance was quickly sealed by over 100 people working together. Although there was firelight in the cave, once the entrance was closed, it became much darker. The sense of security brought by the enclosed space somewhat alleviated the pained expressions on the faces of the camp members. Yet their expressions remained bewildered, and their faces were full of confusion. Brother, what do we do next? Xia Chuan's voice immediately directed everyone's gaze to Xia Hong. From initially discerning the true Xia Ding, to later leading the desperate struggle for survival, to finally creating that life-saving small fire pit. It can be said that without Xia Hong, almost no one in the camp would have survived. At this moment, it was only natural for everyone to pin their hopes on him. Xia Hong naturally felt the reliance in their eyes, feeling the pressure multiply. In fact, he had no choice but to step up. Xia Ding and the logging team of 13 people have been confirmed dead. In the massacre just now, 72 more died. He just counted, and now only 154 people are left in the camp. Among these, only 53 are adults. The reason these older people stayed in the camp, instead of going out with Xia Ding for logging and hunting, was due to their weak abilities and only normal human strength. Among the remaining 101, 25 are about his age, including himself, and the rest range from 3 to 12 years old. He was originally the strongest person in the camp. Plus, being the son of the former leader Xia Ding, continuing to lead the camp's people to survive naturally became his responsibility. Xia Hong shook off his chaotic thoughts, glanced around the cave, and quickly made his first decision. We can't stay here, pack up, and when night falls we'll move. The deceitful creature from Redwood Ridge already knew the camp's location and could return at any moment. Staying here would surely lead to death. Brother, which cave number are we moving to? To the west, to number 4. In this world, humans are almost constantly evading from birth to death. Evading daylight, evading ice tides, evading cold beasts, evading deceitful monsters. In this long-standing state of evasion, humans have developed the habit of having multiple hiding places. The same goes for the Daxia camp. Having lived in Redwood Ridge for decades, the Daxia camp has long established 6 hiding places, all of which are caves. The 6 caves are spaced only 500 to 600 meters apart, surrounding the eastern slope of Redwood Ridge in a circular layout. They are currently in cave number 1, and number 4 is the furthest from it, so to be safe, Xia Hong chose cave number 4. Naturally, no one objected, and they all turned around to pack their things according to Xia Hong's orders, preparing to move away at night. Taking advantage of this gap, Xia Hong focused his attention on the camp system that he hadn't had the chance to examine closely earlier. Camp Great Xia Level 0. Lord Xia Hong. Camp Population 154. Resources: wood 15, coal 0, iron 0, silver 0, gold 0. Build small fire pit level 1. Daily consumption of wood 2 placed. Small fire pit can significantly increase temperature within a 10-meter radius, deterring primary monsters but also strongly attracting cold beasts. Special function: every 10 units of wood burned generates a special small torch, similar in function to the small fire pit, and can be carried. Resources required to upgrade small fire pit: wood 200, iron 50. At the bottom of the open interface, there are also 8 grayed-out options. Wooden mannequin, green bamboo fence, marking stone, medicine decoction pot, yellow earth, polishing stone, small wooden table, rough iron chain. Xia Hong's heart stirred slightly, and he chose the wooden mannequin. Suddenly a message appeared. Wooden mannequin not constructed. Resources required for construction: wood 100, iron 20. Sure enough, the other 7 buildings all required resources to unlock. Of these, 6 buildings require wood, coal, and iron for construction. The small wooden table requires silver, and the last rough iron chain requires gold. Having witnessed the power of the small fire pit, naturally Xia Hong was envious of these buildings. But the reality was, not to mention gold and silver, in this world for a month he hadn't even seen coal. Just to upgrade the small fire pit to level 2 requires 200 wood and 50 iron. Xia Hong's heart moved slightly, and he walked to the side of the cave wall. On the ground were 3 trees roughly over 30 meters long and more than 3 meters thick. Although Xia Hong had never gone out to log, he had seen the nearby forest from the cave entrance over the past month. The trees in this world grow terrifyingly fast. Not only do they grow terrifyingly fast, but they are also outrageously dense. Due to the low temperature, a layer of ice crystals formed on the bark of all the trees, greatly increasing the difficulty of logging. With a fundamental strength below 5,000 pounds, there's simply no possibility of logging. This is why logging has become a mark of strength. Each time Xia Ding went logging, he essentially picked the thinnest trees. It's not that he didn't want to choose thicker ones, they simply couldn't cut through the thicker ones. Even with good luck, if they managed to cut it, they probably couldn't carry it back. Xia Hong looked at the 3 trees on the ground, his eyes contemplating. These 3 are probably about 15 units of timber, which means that upgrading the small fire pit to level 2 requires at least 20 such large trees and 20 units of iron. Thinking of this, Xia Hong shook his head and quickly stopped his thoughts. Forget 20 trees, even according to what Xia Ding and the logging team members said earlier, without 5,000 pounds of strength, even cutting a tree is a problem. Not to mention iron. Among all the camps around Redwood Ridge, probably only Rojal Camp has it. For now, surviving is the top priority. We must also intensify training. Although I originally planned to gradually reach 5,000 pounds in a month, now it must happen as fast as possible. Xia Hong murmured softly to himself, feeling a strong sense of urgency. 15 units of wood are only enough to sustain the small fire pit for 7.5 days. In the evenings they can manage, but during the day, without a fire for warmth, the camp members could freeze to death. Though they had endured daylight before, the 4 hours of daylight today were exceptionally grueling for the camp members. On one hand, because they had just experienced disaster and lost many loved ones, their spirits were already low. On the other hand, the anticipation of moving at night left them with a sense of unknown anxiousness about the future. Nonetheless, this daylight at long last passed. Xia Hong pried open a crack at the cave entrance and looked outside. It was already nightfall. Although it was dark, the ice crystals and snowflakes adorned the land in a silvery attire, making visibility fairly good. Of course, most importantly, once night came, the temperature rose. Xia Hong turned his head to look at the camp members behind him, all carrying packs. The 154 people were divided into 3 groups by him. The first group of 40 consisted of adults, both men and women. The second group comprised 76 children and 13 adult women. The third group included him, Xia Chuan, and another 23 young adults. Adults leading, Split 12 people to carry those 3 trees. All children in the middle, you 13 women take care of them. Xia Chuan, along with you 23, will stay at the rear with me. Keep the formation steady. If anything happens, blow the bone whistle first. Don't shout to avoid attracting trouble. Do you understand? Understood. Hearing everyone's unanimous response, Xia Hong then waved to signal the departure. Over 100 of them gradually walked out of the cave. After the last group left, Xia Hong turned back to look at the small fire pit. With a thought, the small fire pit was extinguished, and its status in the camp system reverted to unplaced. After handling the fire pit, Xia Hong quickly jogged to the back of the group. The group set off westward, their white beast skin clothing blending with the snow, as if becoming part of this harsh and relentless icy world. Chapter 7:7 The Heart of the Camp. The world was a frozen wasteland, the cold wind biting to the bone. Under the starlit night, the people of Great Xia Camp trudged arduously westward. From No 1 cave to No 4 cave, it was actually less than 2 kilometers. Yet even this less than 2 kilometers took over 100 people from Great Xia Camp, a full 2 hours to traverse. The main reason being the snow accumulation on Redwood Ridge was astonishingly thick. Outside the cave, even the thinnest snow was more than half a meter high. In some places, it was 5 to 6 meters thick, and several people in the front line of robust individuals had already fallen off snow slopes and ended up bruised and disfigured. When encountering deeper snow, the team had to stop, relying on the robust individuals at the front to physically carve a path before they could continue moving. Additionally, the weather was cold, and visibility was poor at night. Considering the children in the group, Xia Hong could only deliberately slow down the pace. Though the pace was slow, quite a few people got injured. But in the end, they reached their destination without any major risks. No 4 cave was on the west side of a small hill, with its entrance covered by dense leaves, now overlaid with a layer of snow, even crystallized with small icicles. Some children in the group had lips turning blue from cold. Xia Hong picked up a stone axe, chopping through the entrance in no time and quickly organizing everyone to enter. This cave was approximately 100 square meters, more spacious than the previous one. Xia Hong entered the cave and started a fire straight away, then instructed Xia Chuan to reseal the entrance. This puzzled Xia Chuan, as the temperature at night was higher than during the day and the cold beasts were not so active. Generally, there was no need to seal the cave. However, he quickly understood. Everyone gather around, I have something to say. Xia Hong gathered everyone around, then pointed solemnly at the fire pit and said, Right now, the most important thing in the camp is this fire pit. It has an intimidating effect on deceitful monsters but also attracts cold beasts. Henceforth, regardless of whether it's night or day, the entrance must be sealed upon entering or exiting. Understood? The previous incident in the cave where the imposter Xia Ding was killed and turned to ashes was witnessed by everyone, making them fully trust Xia Hong's words. They all nodded affirmatively. Chuan, how much food do we have left now? Hearing this, Xia Chuan's expression immediately turned a bit somber, replying, We have about 700 pounds of crystal fruit left, and only 60 pounds of cold beast meat. Upon hearing these figures, everyone instantly became anxious. That includes Xia Hong. In such a harsh world, farming is naturally not a concept. Perhaps it exists, but the current Great Xia camp surely has no contact with it. In Great Xia, including all the human camps around Redwood Ridge, the staple food is a fruit that grows on a tree called ice phlox. These fruits are fist-sized, with crystalline skins, soft and glutinous inside, and a sweet taste, each about half a pound. A normal person needs 2 a day to barely maintain subsistence. 700 pounds sounds like a lot, but is insufficient for 154 people. Even if being frugal and giving only 1 per person per day, these 700 pounds would barely last 10 days. Regarding cold beast meat, perhaps in some large camps, they can use it as rations, but in Great Xia camp, cold beast flesh, like wood, is absolutely considered a strategic resource. In this world, humans rely on cold beast flesh to cultivate. Previously, Xia Ding implemented a distribution system in Great Xia camp. Logging team members each received 1 pound a day. Ages 15 to 18 could get half a pound every 3 days. Officially, that's the story, but the reality was different. Previously, the camp had too little cold beast flesh. At least in the past month since Xia Hong came through, He only saw Xia Ding bring back one bone spur frost wolf cold beast, and it was just a juvenile, only 100 pounds or so. With too many people and too little meat, the available cold beast flesh mainly went to the offspring of the logging team members. Both Xia Ding and Xia Chuan also received some before. But Xia Chuan gave his share to Xia Hong, using his brother's impending breakthrough to the logging realm as the reason. This deepened Xia Hong's bond with Xia Chuan significantly in just a month. Despite being blood brothers, this is a world where death can come at any moment. Cold beast flesh, a type of strategic resource that can enhance power, is invaluable. Yet Xia Chuan was willing to give it to him, highlighting the purity of this younger brother's character. While Xia Hong was pondering these thoughts, Xia Chuan from the rear approached the fire pit carrying a clump of azure meat. Cold beast flesh is blue. Xia Hong was slightly taken aback, but he quickly realized Xia Chuan's intention. Everyone, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. My brother is the strongest, and now he's just a step away from the logging realm. I suggest we give him these 60 pounds of cold beast flesh so he can break through sooner, ensuring our camp's safety. What do you all think? As expected, Xia Hong's guess was right. He instinctively wanted to refuse, but reconsidered and remained silent. Though it might seem selfish, Xia Chuan's words were sensible. Yet human nature is complex, and after Xia Chuan spoke, the room fell silent with no one voicing their thoughts. Especially those, the offspring of the previous camp's logging team members. Hong, we trust you, but can you swear that after breaking through the logging realm, you won't leave us behind? The speaker was a robust young man. Yuan Cheng, straightforward and honest. His father, Yuan Gang, was second only to Xia Ding in camp strength. Information about the speaker flashed in Xia Hong's mind. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he looked around, observing the reactions of the others. At times like this, resources should indeed be concentrated to enhance Hong's abilities. But that flesh was earned by my father's blood and sweat. Without logging realm combat power, we can't even collect wood, and once these 3 trees are gone, we'll freeze to death. I believe it should be given to Hong. That's right, give it to him. Only the offspring of the previous logging team members spoke up. From this, you can pretty much see the dynamics in Great Xia Camp earlier. Xia Ding and the logging team members were at the top, responsible for resource procurement and determining resource distribution. Their families were the second tier, enjoying resource priority and having a say in camp affairs. Everyone else fell into the third tier, waiting for resource allocation. Xia Hong sorted out his thoughts and gently raised his hand to quiet them. Upon seeing his gesture, everyone instantly fell silent. Evidently, Xia Hong's performance during the earlier camp attack and their relocation had established his authority in their minds. Cheng, if I intended to leave, I'd do so regardless of any oath, so I can't guarantee anything to you. Xia Hong paused after responding to Yuan Cheng, before continuing with a more serious tone. Trust is the foundation between us. I'll say just this. If you are willing to give me this flesh, one day in the future I will repay you 100-fold. If you're willing, express it now. If not, I'll continue as before. As Xia Hong finished speaking, silence initially filled the cave. But soon the first voice broke the silence. Hong, I trust you. Then came the second and the third. I trust the leader too. I, Yuan Cheng, am willing to give my cold beast flesh to Hong. Exactly. Only by strengthening the leader can we continue to survive. Voices of support and trust echoed through the crowd. A smile appeared on Xia Hong's face. Receiving the chunk of cold beast flesh from Xia Chuan, a sense of determination gradually emerged in Xia Hong's gaze. In this extremely cold and apocalyptic world, only a camp built on mutual trust and genuine sincerity can truly survive, and strength will eventually follow. Chapter 8:8 Breaking Through the Logging Realm. By the campfire, everyone at the Great Xia Camp was either lying down or leaning against something. A small number of the youngest ones, exhausted from the previous journey, had already fallen asleep. The majority of the people were wide awake, their eyes fixated on the left side of the fire, at a tall man wearing only a beast skin skirt with a bare upper body. Looking closer, one realized that they were not staring at the man, but at the piece of meat he was holding. The meat in the man's hand was clearly freshly roasted, still sizzling with aroma. Almost without exception, those awake were constantly swallowing their saliva. The man was naturally Xia Hong. Having just arrived in a new environment, others might still need time to adapt, but he could not afford that luxury. He had to quickly enhance his strength and break through to the logging realm. 5 pounds at a time should be no problem. Cold beast flesh contained incredibly strong energy, and eating too much at once could cause someone to explode. Xia Hong had eaten it before, so he understood. From his past experience, 5 pounds at a time should pose no issue for him. As the meat entered his stomach, the first wave he felt was satiety. As the feeling of fullness continued to swell, his blood began to boil, and a strong burning sensation suddenly erupted in his abdomen. Next, sweat began to pour crazily from his forehead, shoulders, back, lower limbs, even palms and the soles of his feet. The muscles in his arms gradually bulged, while veins across his forehead, the back of his hands, and his legs began to protrude. Xia Hong's breathing became heavy, even carrying a burning sensation. His exhaled breath was unusually visible to all in the camp. Suddenly, Xia Hong moved. He clenched his fists, retracted them, then fiercely thrust his waist, a straight punch forward, his fists like cannonballs. Though the punch hit nothing, the air vibrated continuously. If someone were to meet the punch, the outcome could be imagined. Watch closely, this is long fist, rising like a gale and striking like lightning, with the lead hand followed by the rear, both hands alternating as one relentless force. Once we have enough cold beast flesh, regardless of gender, everyone in the camp will practice with me. Xia Hong demonstrated the grand ancestor long fist while explaining to the people in the camp. Crystal fruit can only satisfy hunger. To train, one must have cold beast flesh. It's easy to understand. Eating enough just maintains basic bodily functions. But forging the body and improving physical functions requires eating meat. The cultivation method in this world is simple and brutal. Consume large amounts of cold beast flesh, and through venting, continuously absorb the flesh's energy, which steadily enhances bodily strength. In truth, no one in the camp doesn't want to train. But when survival is a problem, cultivation becomes even more of a luxury. Even now, with Xia Ding teaching them the long fist techniques, they could only lie quietly and listen. It's not that they don't want to get up, it's to move less to conserve energy. Chuan was this long fist taught to Hong by Uncle Ding. Watching the still vigorous Xia Hong in the field, Yuan Hong showed a hint of envy and turned to ask Xia Chuan beside him. Xia Chuan's face was full of pride as he whispered, "This is something my brother created a month ago. I tell you, practicing this long fist speeds up the absorption of cold beast flesh energy." Upon hearing this, Yuan Hong's pupils shrank sharply. He had also eaten cold beast flesh and knew what that meant. Absorbing the energy of cold beast flesh would increase strength, and this process is cultivation. Increasing the speed of energy absorption means increasing the speed of cultivation. Really? Of course it's true, my brother taught me, and I tried it myself. Great, then once we have cold beast flesh, I want to practice too. Don't worry, didn't you hear? My brother just said, once we have enough flesh and blood, he'll teach us. In the following days, at the maximum body limits, Xia Hong regularly consumed 5 pounds each day, and indeed his strength increased steadily. Before the camp was attacked, his basic strength was already 4,000 pounds. Over the next 5 days, his strength increased by nearly 100 pounds each day. Great Xia Camp's tool for measuring strength was a set of brown circular wooden stakes. There were 12 stakes in total, 5 of 100 pounds, 2 of 500 pounds, and 5 of 1,000 pounds. Everyone in the camp watched Xia Hong measure his strength each day. From the first days, 4,100 pounds, to the 7th days, 4,900 pounds. The crowd's enthusiasm grew, and as they looked at the sealed entrance, a glimmer of hope gradually rose in their eyes. In the past, when Xia Ding and the logging team were present, the entrance could be opened in the evenings for ventilation. Now sealed in year-round, they felt even more stifled. Critically, the crystal fruits were running low. Even with minimal rationing, there were only about 700 pounds. Among 154 people, over 500 pounds had been consumed in 7 days. The remaining amount was not enough to last 3 days. All their hopes could only be pinned on Xia Hong. So on the evening of the 8th day, when Xia Hong approached the brown stakes, everyone's gaze focused intently on him. Fully aware of the camp's situation, Xia Hong understood their feelings. He said nothing, quietly stacking the 5 1,000-pound stakes together. Slowly crouching down, he wrapped his arms around the bottom stake. Taking a deep breath, he began to exert his strength. 5,000 pounds is a weight unimaginable to the average person. But for the people in this world, 5,000 pounds is just a basic requirement. Lifting a 5,000-pound object doesn't necessarily imply only a force of 5,000 pounds can be exerted. Take Xia Ding, whose basic strength was over 7,000 pounds. But as Xia Hong observed, when Xia Ding swung his axe, the force was definitely over 10,000 pounds. Force depends on personal technique, physique, and even the situation, but basic strength doesn't lie. Why does one need over 5,000 pounds of basic strength just to log outside? Xia Hong had already asked Xia Ding this question. Xia Ding didn't answer. He merely tossed him a stone axe and told him to chop down a tree. The trees retrieved by the logging team from the outskirts of Redwood Ridge. At the time, Xia Hong's basic strength was just over 2,000 pounds, and when he chopped down, his tiger's mouth cracked. His elbow joints even fractured directly. Understand that these trees were chopped down by Xia Ding and the logging team outside and brought back to the cave. They had been left for days, with the crystallized outer bark already dissolved. A basic strength of 2,000 pounds couldn't even break the surface. Xia Hong immediately realized that both people and trees capable of surviving in such an extremely cold environment cannot be judged by common sense. Besides, a glance at the towering forest on the side of Redwood Ridge reveals that, compared to humans, these trees actually thrive better. 5,000 pounds is only the first step. Xia Hong shouted lowly, eyes wide with determination. He forcefully exerted his strength upwards, muscles all over his body bulging, and his blood seemed to boil. Under the hopeful gaze of everyone in the camp, the 5 1,000-pound stakes slowly lifted off the ground until they were raised above Xia Hong's head. "Brother, you've broken through. Headstrong. 5,000 pounds, ha ha ha. The leader is amazing. Hong, you've reached the logging realm." Bang! Xia Hong dropped the stakes onto the ground, causing a loud boom, then turned back to look at the crowd, finally showing a long-missed expression of relaxation. "Once it's dark, I'll go out to find crystal fruit." Chapter 99 Ishuo, Vermilion Frost Gold Lin. The Great Xia Camp has finally birthed a new logging-grade combat power. The mood of the people immediately improved quite a bit. Xia Hong's mood, needless to say, was even better. He initially thought it would take more than 10 days, but he broke through in just 8 days, showcasing the potential of his body. As nightfall approached, Xia Hong didn't delay. He walked over to the fire pit and, under the astonished eyes of the crowd, pulled out a charred stick from within. The stick was entirely pitch black, about half a meter long, thin at the bottom and thick at the top, with the thick end having a white tip. Small torch. For every 10 units of wood burned in the fire pit, one can be generated, and it can be carried with you, similar in function to a small bonfire. The special function of the small bonfire remained despite spending 8 days in the cave, using the wood sparingly, but in total, they burned 13 units, thus generating 1 torch. Since he had to go out, it was natural to make thorough preparations. Its function is similar to a small bonfire, meaning it has the effect of deterring and wounding deceitful monsters. However, it also attracts cold beasts. Soon it was completely dark. Xia Hong tied the torch to his back with a rope, fastened 2 hand axes to his waist, and then pulled a 3-meter-long stick from the side of the camp wall. Peering through a fingertip-sized gap in the cave entrance to look outside, he confirmed it was entirely dark. Xia Hong then turned back and gave Xia Chuan a final reminder. "Remember the code I taught you. I will return before daylight. Once I leave, seal the entrance immediately. If anyone comes, if they can't match the code, no matter who it is, do not reveal yourself, understand?" Having experienced the massacre just 8 days ago, Xia Chuan was all too aware of the importance of Xia Hong's instructions, and nodded firmly. Xia Hong didn't say much more, and tore open a gap to slip out directly. Xia Chuan swiftly sealed the entrance, but, through the last sliver of a gap, saw Xia Hong's departing figure, a trace of worry in his eyes. Just how large Redwood Ridge is, not even Xia Hong nor Xia Ding knows. The Great Xia is, after all, just a small-sized camp. Though they've been exploring consistently over the years, their range of activity is primarily the slope east of Redwood Ridge, mostly revolving around the 6 caves there. The approximate range is about a 5-kilometer radius. The most crucial area within these 5 kilometers is the periphery of Redwood Ridge to the west, for no reason other than the sheer number of trees in Redwood Ridge. Not only are there many, but they also crazily extend outward. It should be that, with 9 human camps surrounding Redwood Ridge and continuous logging over the years, it should naturally shrink. However, as per Xia Ding's observations, not only has Redwood Ridge not shrunk, but it has been continuously expanding outward over these years. The trees grow larger and more numerous. The rapid growth of resources is beneficial to humans. But the problem is, these trees are not just resources for them. They are equally critical to the cold beasts. Most cold beasts reside on the trees. Apart from hunting, cold beasts also enjoy consuming the fruits from the trees. So the expansion of Redwood Ridge is, in fact, quite deadly for the surrounding camps. As the trees constantly extend, the activity range of those cold beasts get closer to the neighboring camps, increasing the danger for humans. Of course, these are not matters for Xia Hong to consider at this stage. Though it was nighttime, the snow covering the ground moderately maintained visibility. Unconsciously, he had reached the edge of Redwood Ridge. In sight, ancient trees that could be considered towering giants in his past life seemed sparse and ordinary here, even small. Upon a brief glance, even the thinnest trees on the outer edge had diameters of 3 to 4 meters, with lengths of 30 to 50 meters found everywhere. The inner trees were more terrifying, with diameters of 5 or 6 meters, even exceeding 10 meters. Looking up, the tops could not be seen, reaching unknown heights. On the snow-covered giant trees, thousands of sharp icicles hung, combined with drifting snowflakes, forming an exquisite and unparalleled ice-snow scene. However, at this moment, Xia Hong was not in the mood to appreciate this. After a long search, he selected a tree 3 meters thick. Xia Hong nervously approached, brushed away the snow on the surface, revealing a layer of ice crystals beneath, and under the ice crystals, the tree bark faintly glinted with a red light. Seeing the red light, he looked up and scanned the treetop carefully. After confirming nothing was there, he immediately breathed a sigh of relief. Red frost tree, should be no cold beasts residing here. As per Xia Ding, the eastern edge of Redwood Ridge has the most red frost trees. Due to the fragility of red frost tree branches and the large size of cold beasts, they seldom choose to dwell there. Differing from red frost, the gold frost tree, yellowish in appearance, has very sturdy branches and thick trunks, making it a favorite for cold beasts, who frequently rest atop them at night. Additionally, some cold beasts even nest and dwell there. Considering the gold frost tree's limited numbers, cold beasts stable enough to reside there usually possess considerable power. Xia Hong marked the small red frost tree with his hand axe, memorized the route, and continued deeper. The camp's food and wood supplies were nearly depleted. Leave this tree to chop down upon the return journey. The urgent task is to find crystal fruits. Ice trees favor sunlight and grow faster in brighter locations. They typically grow in more open areas. Recalling the features of ice trees, Xia Hong surveyed the forest, selecting a tree after confirming it was free of any threats, and climbed up. The tree's surface, coated with snow and ice crystals, was not only bone-chilling but also extremely slippery. After exerting much effort, Xia Hong finally reached the top. Upon reaching the treetop, the view indeed improved greatly. Soon enough, Xia Hong spotted an open area about 200 to 300 meters to the west. The eastern edge of Redwood Ridge, 800 steps belong to our great Xia's territory. If you ever join the logging team, remember this rule well. If you cross into someone else's territory recklessly and get killed, you can't blame anyone but yourself. Recalling Xia Ding's previous words, Xia Hong leaped off the tree and headed toward the open area to the west. 800 steps roughly equate to a distance of a league. The open area belongs to Great Xia territory, so crossing over shouldn't pose a problem. Theoretically, given how crucial of a resource the ice tree, capable of producing staple food, is, the camp should remember its location, saving the trouble of finding it each time. In reality, they did remember, but the sudden demise of Xia Ding and the logging team was unexpected. There were originally 13 individuals capable of venturing out from the camp, and most knew the ice tree's location. Unexpectedly, before they had a chance to inform Xia Hong, all 13 perished. Thankfully, the tree wasn't far. Xia Hong found it without much difficulty. Though he was eager for food, Xia Hong approached cautiously and calmly. As he passed each tree, he thoroughly searched the treetop with a careful gaze. Though it was nighttime, the typical resting time for cold beasts. It didn't mean they wouldn't wake up. Up to now, Xia Hong hadn't seen a cold beast, only learning about a couple from conversations between Xia Ding and the logging crew. Although he hadn't seen any alive, based solely on the amount and frequency of cold beast flesh acquired when Xia Ding was still around, he could deduce that their power was undoubtedly fearsome. 13 logging-grade individuals took a month to successfully hunt down a single juvenile bone-piercing frost wolf. That already spoke volumes. Xia Hong had to be cautious. With his current strength, encountering a cold beast likely spelled death. Luckily, the journey went without a hitch. After more than an hour, Xia Hong finally reached that open area. Upon reaching the destination and looking forward, Xia Hong's face immediately lit up with joy. Amid the open ground, a 40-meter-tall, silver-coated towering ice tree stood quietly, densely packed with crystal fruits dangling above. Luck is truly on my side. This would likely weigh over 1,000 pounds. Xia Hong did not let the joy overcome his senses and directly climbed the tree to pick the fruits. Instead, he first chose a nearby red frost tree and climbed to the top. There, he meticulously observed the crown of the ice tree. Upon this inspection, his expression darkened considerably. Chapter 10: 10 Longtongue Snow Mane. At first glance, this ice tree appears no different from the other trees nearby. The trunk is covered in white snow, and the canopy is also adorned in a silver dress, with thousands of icicles hanging from the branches like curtains. But upon closer inspection, you will find that there are dozens of icicles over a meter long, bizarrely standing upright on a sturdy branch. Xia Hong stared intently at that part of the trunk and immediately identified it. That's not an icicle at all, but rather a giant white creature resting on the trunk. A tongue, at least 4 or 5 meters long, was hanging down from its mouth. Its tongue was also white, with a layer of frost on the surface, so unless you looked carefully, you would think it was just a particularly long icicle. And those upright icicles were actually the spines on its back. In the darkness of the night, if you didn't look closely, you would definitely miss it. It was fortunate that Xia Hong was out for the first time and was particularly cautious, allowing him to notice it. In the darkness, it was unclear how big the creature really was, but with that long tongue and the spines on its back, Xia Hong recognized it. Longtongue Snow Mane, only 2 meters in length, should be juvenile. The cold beasts on the outskirts of Redwood Ridge aren't numerous in variety. Among them, the most common are the bone spur frost wolf and the long-tongued snow mane. According to what was heard from the members of the logging team, the long-tongued snow mane is a lower-level cold beast resembling a wild boar. The body of a long-tongued snow mane is extremely large, weighing 300 to 400 pounds even as juveniles, with adults typically over 1,000 pounds. Snow manes possess immense strength, favoring attacks with the spines on their back and forehead, but more importantly, their several meter-long tongues are not only long, sharp, and harden or soften at will, but also almost impossible to defend against. If you encounter a juvenile snow mane, there is still a chance to hunt it with a very strong archer and the assistance of a dozen good hands from the logging realm. Otherwise, if encountered in the wild, don't try, just flee. Remembering what he had heard before, Xia Hong took a deep breath, calming down as much as possible. Although he was tempted by the snow mane's tasty meat, he had to face reality. Fortunately, it was nighttime, and the snow mane was fast asleep. If it were daytime and he encountered an awake one, he might not have survived. Stay quiet and don't disturb it, pick some crystal fruits and then leave. The most notable trait of long-tongued snow manes is that once it's nighttime, they become extremely lethargic. As long as you don't attack them, they generally won't wake up. Though the members of the logging team wouldn't lie to him, Xia Hong naturally wouldn't gamble with his own life, so he picked up a stone from the ground and climbed up a tree, hurling it towards a tree 100 meters away. The stone hit the tree, causing only a slight shake, not much disturbance. Yet due to the vibration, icicles began falling from the tree. The sound of icicles hitting the ground was exceptionally clear in the silent, dense forest, so Xia Hong held his breath and carefully observed the snow mane. The snow mane remained indifferent to the loud noise, continuing to slumber deeply. This sight truly allowed Xia Hong to relax. Gently pick the fruit, there shouldn't be much of a problem. Just as Xia Hong was about to climb down from the tree, whoosh! The sound of an arrow slicing through the air suddenly came from across. In the night, though Xia Hong couldn't see the sharp arrow, judging by the sound's origin, he could almost confirm it was aimed at the snow mane on the tree. Roar! Sure enough, as the sound of the arrow disappeared, an enraged roar suddenly erupted from the ice tree. The sound was earth-shattering, causing the entire tree to tremble, scattering ice fragments from the branches, while snow on the ground exploded into a flurry. Even the tree Xia Hong was shook violently. "Are you crazy? Is this someone from Dashi camp?" Xia Hong screamed internally, unable to move a muscle. In earlier years, the camps around Redwood Ridge, led by Rojal Camp, had divided up their territories. The west of Great Xia's territory and Redwood Ridge is Dashi Camp's territory. At this moment, Xia Hong wasn't concerned with Dashi Camp crossing the border. He was merely curious where Dashi Camp mustered such courage to engage a long-tongued snow mane. Though unsure of Dashi Camp's specific strength, he figured it was similar to Great Xia, a small camp at best with perhaps a few more logging realm powerhouses. Could such strength hunt a snow mane? It wasn't long before Xia Hong realized he was mistaken. Dashi Camp seemed to have quite a bit of capability. "Shidong, I hit its left eye, aim for its right eye with me. The rest of you, hurry and snare it with ropes." From the west side of the ice tree came a sharp voice. 17 people followed, all clad in beast skin skirts, wielding stone axes except for the first one in line, who wielded a gleaming saber. Iron weapon, probably bought from Rojal Camp. Xia Hong gazed at the saber with envy in his eyes. Under extreme cold, both stone and iron undergo significant changes. Great Xia once had a semi-iron weapon, Xia Ding's axe. Being called semi-iron because only the blade's edge was iron, the rest was stone with a wooden handle. Yet even as a semi-iron weapon, its sharpness far exceeded that of a stone axe. Xia Hong had once exchanged blows between a stone axe and that iron axe. The stone axe was damaged, while the iron axe remained intact. Considering the iron was only on the blade of the axe, no wonder that gleaming saber was so formidable. Apart from Xia Hong's envy, the people from Dashi Camp under the ice tree had already engaged that snow mane. The snow mane's left eye indeed had an arrow lodged in it. The snow mane probably hurt from the pain. After descending from the tree, its roaring ceased, but its breathing was notably heavy. The only remaining eye on the right was bloodshot and locked onto Dashi Camp's group. Its hind legs scraped the snow twice before lunging forward suddenly. Faster than a white arrow off the string, fierce as a crashing mountain. Looking at the snow mane's huge body, it was unimaginable that its speed was so fast. The enormous size combined with extreme speed, even dispersing the chill, meant this strike's impact was devastating. "Quick dodge," said the snare fast. That sharp voice sounded again, and Xia Hong's gaze turned to a tree on the west side. The person commanding must be an archer. Another named Shidong, also an archer, should be hiding on the other side. The person gave commands, while frantically shooting arrows with another archer. Though the arrows didn't hit the snow mane's vital spots, they successfully slowed its charge. As the snow mane was being obstructed, 14 individuals under the ice tree scattered, avoiding the snow mane while setting up over a dozen snares on the ground. The leader wielding the saber even tossed a snare right over the snow mane's neck while dodging. The snow mane couldn't stop its momentum and crashed into the ground full of snares. The snow mane's limbs and head were swiftly snared. "Pull hard," a sharp voice commanded from behind the tree, and the 14 scattered individuals quickly regrouped, divided into 5 groups, and forcefully pulled the ropes from the ground, running in 5 directions. "Roar!" The snow mane roared angrily, but unfortunately staggered, yanked, and toppled over, crashing onto the ground with a loud bang. Meanwhile, 2 arrows shot like meteors from behind the tree, straight into the snow mane's blood-red right eye. Plunge! Both arrows hit the mark. The snow mane let out a more painful and furious roar. "Got it. Ha-ha, well done, boss. This beast, the pain will kill it too." The laughter of Dashi Camp's people contrasted starkly with the snow mane's furious, painful cries. Despite their joy, the people of Dashi Camp did not approach while the snow mane continued to thrash. The distant 2 archers remained concealed, persistently shooting arrows to finish it off. As time went by, the snow mane's thrashing movements grew smaller and smaller until it finally lay still. The people of Dashi Camp seemed to finally relax. The leader wielding the saber threw several rocks from afar, confirming the snow mane's death before finally speaking to the rear of the forest. "Boss, it's dead." Two middle-aged men emerged from behind the tree on the west side, leading everyone towards the snow mane's body. Seeing the group begin to gather their prey, Xia Hong, still hiding in the tree, furrowed his brows slightly. Chapter 11:11, Powerful and Cunning. It's certainly not true to say one isn't envious of this snow mane. But circumstances are stronger than people. Even though Dashi Camp has crossed the boundary, Xia Hong currently neither has the energy nor the strength to deal with it. Not only can he not meddle, but he also must avoid any contact with Dashi Camp at all costs. In fact, according to what Xia Ding said before his death, the relationship between Dashi and Great Xia's camps had always been fairly decent. But times have changed, and Great Xia is now extremely weak. Once outsiders notice the true situation, their fate will be out of their control. After understanding this, Xia Hong's expression calmed down as he continued to observe the crowd. At this moment, the group from Dashi Camp had reached the side of the snow mane. Tisk, this looks like it weighs 400 or 500 pounds. We're in for a fortune. Enough to last the camp 2 or 3 months. The leader used 300 pounds of cold beast meat to trade for a bow at Rojal Camp. Some of you were against it, but now you see the bow's power, right? All right, stop the chatter, move it quickly. This is Great Xia's territory. It won't be good if they find us later. The sharp, commanding voice from earlier was clearly that of Dashi's leader. As soon as he spoke, everyone immediately fell silent. Then one person stepped forward, ready to pull out the arrow lodged in the snow mane's eye. However, just as he grasped the arrow, a sudden change occurred. The snow mane, which had been lying motionless, suddenly flipped over. The snow mane flipped so fast that the man was caught off guard and didn't even have time to let go. He was lifted directly into the air. By the time he tried to let go, the snow mane had already charged forward, smashing him into pieces. That's right, it didn't send him flying. It shattered him directly in midair. This beast actually played dead. Retreat quickly. Everyone withdraw, scatter, and run quickly. Despite their terror, the people of Dashi Camp reacted quickly. Especially the leader with the sharp voice, who instantly decided to have them scatter and escape. The crowd immediately followed his words, scattering in all directions. However, they were too close to the snow mane. After shattering one person, the snow mane didn't pause and charged fiercely toward the first person who had spoken. At the same time, it tilted its head, baring its bloodthirsty jaws at the second person who spoke. A long, icicle-like tongue suddenly shot out from its mouth. Splurred. The tongue was as fast as lightning, incredibly sharp, and nearly in an instant pierced through that person. Piercing through the person wasn't the end. The tongue even turned in midair, racing toward the leader of Dashi Camp. Leader, watch out. The leader was fleeing for his life and didn't have time to check behind him. Not far from him, two people who noticed the leader was in danger charged toward him almost without hesitation, shielding him from behind. The only person from Dashi Camp with a knife was among them. He used his knife to block the snow mane's tongue at just the right moment. Clang! Seeing that the blade withstood the tongue, the man immediately let out a sigh of relief. However, the tongue quickly maneuvered around to his right side. With a swift loop, it pierced through another person who wasn't holding a knife. How long is this beast's tongue? The man with the knife roared indignantly. Shut up, fool, no one make a sound, this beast is already blind. Retreat slowly, keep silent, and it won't find us. But the sharp voice immediately yelled angrily, interrupting him. The leader clearly saw the key point and reacted quickly. Unfortunately, the man with the knife was really too close to the snow mane's tongue. The snow mane's tongue had already wrapped around the man with the knife before striking the second person. Once it achieved its second target, the tongue suddenly softened and swiftly turned to the left, like a moving rope, wrapping around the man with the knife's neck. The man with the knife seemed to realize something and quickly threw the heavy knife in his hand towards the leader. The next second, accompanied by the snow mane's low roar and exertion, the man's head fell directly off his neck. This terrifying scene sent a chill through everyone's hearts. As the leader caught the knife in the air, seeing his subordinate's tragic death, he was extremely angry but suppressed his emotions, not daring to make any sound. The others, like him, stood silently, not daring to utter a sound. Under the ice tree, a deathly silence enveloped the area. And at this moment, Xia Hong, hiding in the trees, didn't dare to move. He even breathed cautiously, not daring to be careless. It's important to know that everything that happened occurred in the blink of an eye. Originally, he was ready to come down once they took away the prey. Who would have expected that in just a few moments, Dashi Camp had already lost 3 people? This snow mane not only has a strong vitality, but also terrifying strength. More importantly, its cunning nature is extraordinarily beast-like. Not only does it play dead to feign weakness, but it also knows how to lure enemies into a trap. It hadn't moved at all until the 2 archers appeared. And this long-tongued snow mane is only a low-level cold beast. How powerful and cunning must the mid-level and high-level ones be? At this moment, Xia Hong realized why only Rojal Camp near Redwood Ridge has a proper hunting team, while Great Xia and other camps can only assemble logging teams. Swishing. Just as he was reflecting on this, the sound of an arrow slicing through the air suddenly emerged in the snowy night. Xia Hong looked up. The arrow struck a large tree 50 meters away, and the immense force shook the ice shards off the tree, creating a louder noise upon hitting the ground. The snow mane, drawn by the noise, bounded a few times in place before charging towards the source of the sound. Xia Hong immediately understood and looked down at the people from Dashi Camp. Sure enough, it was another archer hiding in the distance who had shot the arrow. Once the snow mane moved away, the people from Dashi Camp quickly fled wildly to the west, not even bothering with the corpses on the ground, obviously in a state of utmost panic. The snow mane, finding nothing under the tree, soon turned around and came back to the ice tree. Its nostrils were still seething, its limbs pounding the ground from time to time. Clearly, its fury had not fully subsided. Xia Hong at this moment didn't dare move, even though the snow mane had lain down under the tree unmoving. He didn't dare check it out. Sure enough, half an hour passed, and the snow mane suddenly raised its head. Even though it had no eyes, its ear-turning and body-turning movements showed it was using its hearing to judge the surroundings. Xia Hong saw this and felt profoundly relieved that he hadn't moved earlier. The snow mane stayed for a while longer before crawling back to the ice tree. Its climbing speed was slow and even a bit clumsy, but after finding a sturdy branch, it lay on it, gradually blending in with the ice crystals on the tree. And Xia Hong, even after an hour, still didn't move. It's not out of fear, as the snow mane is very likely asleep. Leaving now wouldn't be much of a problem. But leaving just like that, Xia Hong felt somewhat unwilling. From its last tree-climbing movement, it wasn't hard to see that this snow mane, after a bout of ferocity, was already in very poor condition. Moreover, its 2 eyes were blind. That's 400 to 500 pounds of cold beast meat. If he doesn't take this chance, Xia Hong would undoubtedly feel at a loss. But judging from the snow mane's strength and cunning earlier, seizing the opportunity wouldn't be an easy task. The 3 dismembered corpses from Dashi Camp lying on the ground were clear evidence of that. Xia Hong pondered for a long time and suddenly thought of something, his eyes lighting up. Chapter 12, 12 Snow Mane Frost Wolf. Even though it was almost certain that the snow mane was asleep, when Xia Hong climbed down from the tree, he still tried to be as quiet as possible. Upon reaching the ground, he first moved cautiously toward the south. He stopped only when he reached a large oval stone, 2 or 3 meters in diameter. After observing the surroundings, Xia Hong dug a man-sized pit in the snow with his bare hands beside the stone. After digging it, he lay down to test the size. Once confirmed okay, he walked 50 meters away from the stone and took out a piece of black stick he'd been carrying on his back. This was certainly not an ordinary small stick. Small torch. Each fire heap burning 10 units of wood can generate one of these, portable, with a strong attraction to the cold beast. He took it before heading out, unexpectedly proving useful. Whether it works or not, it all depends on this thing. Xia Hong glanced back at the ice tree, inserted the small torch into the ground, then took out a fire stone and struck it twice hard. Immediately, sparks flew. The white tip of the small torch caught the sparks and ignited at once, raising a crimson flame over half a meter high, identical to the flame that had burned the deceitful monster in the cave earlier. The moment the flame rose, Xia Hong dashed swiftly toward the stone. Once next to the stone, he quickly crawled into the pit he dug earlier, then used his hands to shovel the surrounding snow onto himself, burying himself completely. When fully covered, he left only his eyes exposed above the snow, starting to observe the torch without moving. Xia Hong still trusted the system's items. After all, the scene of that deceitful monster being burnt, wailing in pain, still lingered in his mind. But how strong the attraction of this flame was to the cold beast, he was not entirely sure. Would that snow mane be drawn in? Xia Hong's question was soon answered. Step, step, step. In a short while, a cautious, testing footstep came from behind. The footsteps came closer, and though Xia Hong dared not look back, the probing steps already told the tale. As expected, when the snow mane with ice spikes on its back passed within 10 meters of him, Xia Hong held his breath, not daring to even move his eyeballs. That snow mane's eyes had 2 black arrows stuck in them. It seemed to be in too much pain to pull them out. Unable to see, the snow mane moved very slowly, pausing after every few steps. But strangely, the closer it got to the torch, the more excited it seemed, even quickening its pace. When it finally reached the torch, the snow mane suddenly stopped. It brought its face close to the tip of the torch, and though it clearly made contact with the flames, there was no sign of being burned. Instead, as its body was bathed in the firelight, its breathing became steadier. It even seemed a bit, somewhat, enjoying it. In the snow, Xia Hong's eyes were filled with confusion and perplexity. The snow mane had an expression of enjoyment on its face. But as he continued his close observation of the snow mane's body, Xia Hong's expression shifted from perplexity to gravity. The group back at the Dashi camp had done more than just blind the snow mane. Its body was riddled with arrows and sword wounds. Even from 50 meters away, Xia Hong could clearly see that the snow mane's bleeding wounds were not only staunched by the firelight, but were also healing rapidly before his eyes. Xia Hong even had an illusion. The snow mane's presence seemed to grow stronger with the firelight's shine. Could this torch heal the cold beast? Could it even help it train and grow stronger? For a moment, Xia Hong felt as if 1,000 horses were galloping through his heart. Originally, he intended to use the torch to attract the snow mane, keeping it moving. The snow mane was already injured, and as long as it didn't get proper rest in the tree, it would bleed itself to exhaustion and death in no time. By then, he could easily pick up the spoils. Unexpectedly, he had now provided it warmth. He could not pick up anything now, instead helping it heal, putting himself in danger. Given the circumstances, Xia Hong no longer thought of scavenging. He only hoped the torch would quickly extinguish, that the snow mane would leave, allowing him to walk away. But at this moment, again something unexpected happened. Roar! A hoarse, deep beast roar suddenly sounded from behind. The enjoying snow mane immediately turned, its expression becoming incredibly wary. Boom! A cold beast shaped like a wolf leapt down from a tree, landing less than 10 meters from the snow mane. The cold beast had a blue mane, a body about 2 meters long, a collar of reverse thorns around its neck, and a mouth full of dense fangs. Its bloodthirsty eyes fixated first on the torch, then issued a low growl at the snow mane in front of it. It's a bone spur frost wolf. Xia Hong instantly recognized the cold beast species. The 2 most common cold beast types around the outskirts of Redwood Ridge, snow mane and frost wolf. Both had appeared. Xia Hong felt a bit heavy-hearted. Encountering 2 kinds at once on his first expedition, he didn't think it was simply good luck. Clearly, as Redwood Ridge expanded, the activity range of cold beasts also continued to widen. The Great Xia Camp was only about 5 kilometers from here. If these cold beasts moved a bit further out, they might wander into the camp at any time. If these cold beasts stumbled upon it, it would be nothing short of a disaster for the camp now. Boom! A loud noise pulled Xia Hong's thoughts back. Over there, the snow mane and frost wolf were already entangled in a fight. Evidently, the snow mane, even with both eyes blind, was unwilling to give up the torch. And the frost wolf was determined to have the torch as well, so naturally, they clashed. The snow mane's size was larger than the frost wolf's. And just as Xia Hong observed, after spending a little while by the torch, the snow mane's injuries had nearly healed, and as it clashed with the frost wolf, it didn't fall behind. But once more, Xia Hong gained a new understanding of cold beast's intelligence. After 2 collisions, the frost wolf immediately changed its fighting strategy. It relied on its nimble body to continually dodge left and right from the snow mane's charges. Sometimes it even lay down, drilling under the snow mane's belly. And with each successful dodge, it used its claws and the ring of spikes around its neck to leave several deep wounds on the snow mane's abdomen. The snow mane, having been healed by the torch, quickly became covered in scars again, with its abdominal wounds continuously oozing out dark green blood, turning the surrounding ground green within moments. This wasn't the end. After a while, the frost wolf suddenly stopped its paw assault. Not only did it stop, but it began moving in circles around slowly on the ground, paws retracted, using only its pads to walk on the snow. The frost wolf actually realized the snow mane was blind. The eyes Xia Hong exposed in the snow were filled with astonishment. If the snow mane previously played dead to lure enemies, because of a survival instinct that triggered an intelligence beyond its usual capabilities, then now the frost wolf's actions fully demonstrated that creatures like cold beasts truly possess intelligence, and it is definitely not low. This completely overturned Xia Hong's previous understanding of beasts. Finally, after several laps, the frost wolf seized a perfect opportunity, and with a sudden burst of force from its paws, launched a fierce pounce from behind, pinning the snow mane beneath it and biting into its neck. The snow mane writhed and struggled on the ground, once again bringing forth the tongue that had previously wreaked havoc on Dashi camp. But unfortunately, the frost wolf was too fast. Even with its jaws locked on the snow mane's neck, it managed to dodge the snow mane's sharp tongue. After missing over 10 wild stabs, the snow mane switched tactics, softening its tongue to entangle the frost wolf, attempting to strangle it. However, the frost wolf had a collar of spikes around its neck. Those spikes were just as sharp as the snow mane's tongue, impossible to entangle. The two cold beasts continued their ground tussle for more than 100 breaths. The battle ultimately ended with the snow mane bleeding to its death from exhaustion. The frost wolf rose, spat out 2 mouths of dark green blood. The ferocity on its face gradually faded, replaced by a certain smugness as it gazed at the still burning torch. It walked over to the torch, placed its head directly on the fire, showing the same look of enjoyment as the snow mane just now. But soon it scanned the surroundings, its expression becoming wary. It glanced at the snow mane corpse on the ground, then again at the torch. With almost no hesitation, the frost wolf picked up the torch with a sideways tilt of its head, sprinted into the snowy depths of the forest. With the snow mane defeated and the frost wolf retreating, the surroundings of the snow suddenly fell into silence. Only a pair of eyes beside the large stone were at this moment full of astonishment and joy. Chapter 13:13, Dividing the Meat. The frost wolf didn't eat the snow mane. It didn't even want to spend the effort to drag away its trophy. Xia Hong quickly realized that the reason must be the torch. Obviously, in the eyes of the frost wolf, the torch's importance far exceeds that of the snow mane. The frost wolf hurriedly grabbed the torch and ran, worried that other cold beasts might come to snatch it. Xia Hong naturally understood this, so after the frost wolf walked away for a bit, he quickly got up from the snow pit, rushed forward to lift the over 400-pound snow mane, and ran towards the direction beyond the eastern ridge without looking back. After the lengthy battle between the frost wolf and the snow mane, who knows if any other cold beasts would come, not to mention that the snow mane lost so much blood. The smell was strong in this area. If he ran slowly, there might be unexpected incidents. Moreover, having lingered here so long, dawn was breaking soon. He had to hurry back. Dashing swiftly along the way, there was excitement with no danger. Xia Hong soon saw the camp cave. As he approached the cave entrance, he did not burst in recklessly but first called out. The storm from all directions is no match for the rain of Redwood Ridge. Rain at Dragon Gate Mountain, and the snowfield tiger descends. Xia Chuan's thrilled voice came from inside, and then the branches blocking the entrance were soon removed from inside. To welcome him were not only Xia Chuan, but also Yuan Cheng. When both saw the huge snow mane corpse on Xia Hong's back, they immediately opened their mouths wide, dumbfounded, even forgetting to speak. He got a bargain. Let's go inside first and seal the cave entrance before talking. The three entered the cave. Before the entrance was sealed, exclamations were already echoing from inside. What is this? Leader, did you go hunting? Hiss, this was hunted by the leader. I've never seen such a big cold beast. Is the leader that strong? Even when the logging team was here, they never brought back such a large prey. In an instant, everyone in the camp looked at Xia Hong with different eyes. There was admiration, respect, reliance, and even more hope. Strength warrants respect. This is an iron rule everywhere. Especially in this world full of peril, where one's life could be lost at any moment. As someone at the camp said, even when the logging team was here, they never saw a prey this large brought back. And this was Xia Hong's first time venturing out. It wasn't me who hunted it, just luck. Xia Hong explained briefly to everyone, but seeing the expressions on their faces, it was clear they didn't believe it. After a moment of thought, he restrained himself from explaining further. After all, during this special time, giving the people at the camp a bit more hope isn't a bad thing. Let there be misunderstandings. However, seeing Xia Chuan and Yuan Cheng's eyes full of fervor, he couldn't resist and gave each of them a flick on the forehead. Don't overthink it. I don't have that ability. The strength of cold beasts far exceeds your imagination. If this snow mane was alive, we'd all be just a snack for it, even if the whole camp took it on. Others can be naive, but not Xia Chuan and Yuan Cheng. The camp already lacks a core strength, and Xia Chuan and Yuan Cheng are among the elite. They are expected to break through to the logging realm after him, and probably will venture out with him soon. If they remain naive, it could lead to their deaths. After some explanation, they finally learned how the snow mane came to be. However, their eyes were still filled with fervor and admiration when looking at Xia Hong. Even without personal experience, they could both imagine how dangerous that situation was. Bringing back this snow mane, Xia Hong's image in their minds naturally grew even more heroic. The people at Dashi camp are too much. In the past, when they were short of people for hunting and came to our camp, Uncle Ding and Father would agree and even personally take people over to help. Now, they actually dare to hunt across borders. But Yuan Cheng quickly grasped the key point in Xia Hong's words, stood up, and angrily criticized the people from Dashi camp. Beside him, Xia Chuan also showed an indignant look, obviously having opinions too. In reality, hunting on others' camp territories and gathering resources is considered a very severe and atrocious act in Redwood Ridge. The reason is simple. There are many trees on Redwood Ridge, numerous cold beasts, and even more unknown precious resources. The problem is the humans in the surrounding camps. Their strength is too weak. Because of their weak strength, they don't dare to venture far into Redwood Ridge. All camps only dare to operate in a small, limited area on the outskirts of Redwood Ridge. So when dividing territories early on, except for the medium-sized Camp Rogue, other families already had very small territories. In such a situation, when you go to another camp's land to gather resources, it impacts others. Judging from the previous actions of the Dashi camp, it's clear this wasn't their first time crossing borders, which implies they knew the location of that ice tree very well. It's very likely they had already harvested several crops of crystal fruit from the ice tree. Given the current situation, if they want to cross the border, let them. We don't have the ability to deal with it now. First, we need to ensure the camp's survival. Once our strength grows, naturally, they won't dare to come over. Xia Hong could understand their anger, but given the current dire state of the camp, there really was no energy, nor the standing to deal with such matters. Yes, the territory must be defended, but the premise is survival. You two, answer me honestly. If the cold beast flesh is fully supplied, how long will it take to break through to the logging realm? Upon hearing Xia Hong's question, both glanced at the snow mane on the ground simultaneously, their breathing becoming heavier. Brother, if I'm fully supplied, I should only need about a month. Actually, Xia Hong was clear about Xia Chuan's situation. When he taught Xia Chuan Long Fist previously, his strength had already reached over 2,000 pounds. He only grew slowly due to limited cold beast flesh supply. On the other side, Yuan Cheng also spoke up. My strength is already at 3,000 pounds. It shouldn't take a month. If the leader is willing to teach me the long fist, I am confident I can break through in 20 days. Xia Hong's eyes lit up. Yuan Cheng's strength was better than he thought. Not just you, I'll teach everyone in the camp. After Xia Hong finished speaking, he looked back at the snow mane meat, starting to calculate. Based on Xia Chuan and Yuan Cheng's current strength, the daily limit of cold beast flesh should be around 3 pounds each. Assuming it takes both a month to break through, that's only 180 pounds. Which means there would be more than 200 pounds extra. Soon, Xia Hong had a plan and asked Yuan Cheng and Xia Chuan to gather the other 22 people in the camp of similar age to them. Currently, the camp has a total population of 154, excluding 53 middle-aged, 76 under 12, leaving these 24 at roughly Xia Hong's age. Everyone, I won't say any pleasantries. This snow mane wasn't hunted by me. It's as if heaven believes our camp's fate shouldn't end and blessed us, so we must seize this opportunity to quickly enhance the camp's strength. The prey was brought back by me alone, so I will take 100 pounds exclusively. Yuan Cheng and Xia Chuan, who are about to break through to the logging realm, will each get 90 pounds. Including the previous camp's stock, I calculated there's still over 170 pounds left. You 22 tomorrow, I will give each of you 1 pound, then compare basic strength. The top 5 will get 30 pounds each. Upon hearing this, everyone showed excited expressions. They did not expect that even such a bounty, brought back solo, Xia Hong would be willing to share with them. The outside world is dangerous. Relying on me alone, there is no way for so many in the camp to survive. Xia Chuan, Yuan Cheng, you must break through as soon as possible. The same applies to everyone else. The next time there's cold beast flesh, whoever breaks through fastest will get the priority quota. Hearing Xia Hong's solemn words, everyone nodded slightly. Xia Chuan and Yuan Cheng clenched their fists tightly, their eyes filled with determination. Chapter 14:14, The Regular Cast. There is a convention among the camps surrounding Redwood Ridge. If a person hasn't broken through to the logging realm by the age of 25, their cultivation value diminishes significantly. It's not to say that past 25 there is no hope, but beyond this age, potential declines rapidly. The same resources invested will yield less improvement than for someone under 25. The resources in question, of course, refer to cold beast flesh. In Xia Hong's view, this convention is obviously based on the scarcity of resources. Previously, having never seen a cold beast, he didn't understand it. But after venturing out and witnessing the might of the frost wolf and snow mane, he realized that for these weak camps around Redwood Ridge, every pound of cold beast flesh is hard-earned, so it must be maximized in value. Especially for the Great Xia camp. By concentrating resources to allow a few to break through first, the more people who can venture outside, the more resources the camp will have, which can then help more people enhance their strength, allowing the camp's overall strength to increase rapidly. The next night, under the witness of everyone in the camp, the competition began. Naturally, Xia Hong first handed out a pound of meat to each of the 22 participants. A pound of cold beast flesh isn't enough to sustain their cultivation, but it could quickly satiate them and unleash their maximum basic strength. After eating, the faces of the 22 turned rosy, shedding their previous listless look, entirely different from the over 100 who hadn't received cold beast flesh. Xia Hong handed over the responsibility of overseeing the competition to Xia Chuan and Yuan Cheng, while he seized the time to eat cold beast flesh and began cultivating. The crushing defeat of the Dushi camp and the terror of the cold beasts filled him with urgency. The Dushi camp had 16 logging-level warriors, including 2 archers with perfect aim, yet with such a luxurious lineup they failed to hunt a low-level cold beast and even lost 3 people. Although this was partly due to their carelessness, the strength and cunning nature of the cold beast is an undeniable fact. The impactful collision of that snow mane while it was alive, Xia Hong estimated, wasn't far from 10,000 pounds. A force of 10,000 pounds is the standard for earth-digging realm strength. Throughout all the camps near Redwood Ridge, only Rojal Camp and the leader Iron Eagle of Iron Peak Camp have an earth-digging realm strongman. Xia Hong looked down at the cave floor, held his breath, clenched his fists and punched the ground. Bang! Now with a strength of 5,000 pounds, such tremendous force hitting the ground only produced a not-so-loud sound. The ground remained unwavering, only a bit of dust rose near his fists. The so-called earth-digging realm refers to those who, at this stage, can use brute force to break open the ground and extract underground resources. Over years of extreme cold, all lands have become exceedingly hard, not to mention this cave area, which is all stone. The difficulty of survival here is truly hell level. The land being too hard means farming is impossible. Humans can only rely on those trees that survive the extreme cold and can bear fruit, like ice trees, for food. Could those trees be used as food, transplanted back to the camp? Xia Hong had asked Xia Ding this question before. The answer was no, because those trees need sunlight to grow. Sunlight is only available during the day, but the low temperatures during daylight are fatal to humans. Moreover, not only are daytime temperatures extremely low, but the area of activity for cold beasts increases, their temper becomes more violent, and the most deadly are those deceitful monsters that might appear at any moment. A few years ago, Rojal Camp tried to transplant ice trees to the ground near the camp cave. But within days, the ice trees attracted a massive gathering of cold beasts, eventually causing significant casualties in the camp. People discovered then that cold beasts, when unable to hunt food, would also use the crystal fruit from ice trees to satiate their hunger. Thus, transplanting ice trees became almost impossible. Not necessarily. If the camp's strength is enough that it doesn't fear cold beasts, transplanting ice trees as close as possible could still be doable. The current Great Xia camp is naturally far from reaching that strength standard, and it was just a thought. Despite the myriad thoughts in his mind, Xia Hong continued his cultivation. After 4 sets of long fists, with his beast skin clothing nearly soaked with sweat, he finally released the burning sensation that had risen in his body from consuming the cold beast flesh. After slightly clenching his fists and feeling a slight increase in strength, Xia Hong furrowed his brows slightly. Having broken through to the logging realm, my capacity for cold beast flesh has increased by 2 more pounds. Now I can eat 7 pounds a day, but the improvement efficiency seems to have slowed a bit. Everything gets harder as you progress, an objective rule. Xia Hong didn't think much of it. Just as he finished his practice and was about to stop cultivating, Yuan Cheng and Xia Chuan walked over with 5 people. Yue Feng, Lin Kai, Qiu Peng, Lu Yang, Su Ning. Xia Hong only glanced up, immediately reciting the names of the 5 people in his mind. Only when he got to Su Ning did he pause a bit. There are only a bit more than 100 people in the camp, and only about 20 in the same age group, whom Xia Chuan basically knows. In reality, the outcome didn't entirely come as a surprise. Xia Hong knew that those descendants of the logging team members would definitely win. The reason is simple. Compared to others, the descendants of the logging team members had previously been given cold beast flesh, providing a foundation of strength. And indeed it was so. Yue Feng is the son of the former logging team member Yue Fan. Lin Kai is the son of Lin Yu. Qiu Peng's father is the only archer in Great Xia. Qiu Peng's son, Lu Yang, is the son of Lu Ting. Among the 5, only Su Ning was not a descendant of former logging team members. This was precisely why Xia Hong paused when he saw him earlier. Not being a member of the logging team implies he hadn't eaten cold beast meat before and had never trained. Under such conditions, for him to still make it to the top 5 wasn't simple at all. Xia Hong turned to Yuan Cheng and inquired, what's their strength for each of them? Yue Feng is exactly 2,000, Lin Kai 1,800, Qiu Peng 1,700, Lu Yang 1,500, Su Ning 1,100. Looking at Su Ning's eyes, Xia Hong's gaze immediately lit up. The first time consuming cold beast flesh, the improvement range can't be too large, which means Su Ning's basic strength itself is quite terrifying. This kid might just give me a bit of a surprise. Su Ning was clearly somewhat self-deprecating in nature. Seeing Xia Hong frequently glancing at him, he immediately grew a bit nervous, slightly evasive in his expression. Xia Hong understood. Among the 5, only he wasn't a descendant of logging team members, and with a strength gap from the other 4, feeling a bit self-conscious at this age is quite normal. So he deliberately shifted his focus, and instead took out the 5 pieces of cold beast flesh he had prepared earlier and distributed them to the 5. From today, I will take time to teach you the long fist technique daily. You've previously eaten cold beast flesh and absorbed it using traditional methods. Given your current physique, you can only manage half a pound per day, or even less. Practicing the long fist technique can enhance your absorption efficiency of cold beast flesh, allowing for quicker strength improvement. So if you want to get stronger fast, learn seriously and carefully. Next time, when the camp gets more cold beast flesh, just like this time, the closer someone is to the logging realm, the more they will receive, understood. The 5 accepted the cold beast meat. Their expressions were immensely invigorated. Hearing Xia Hong's advice, they all lifted their heads, faces solemn, and responded in unison. Yes, leader. Recalling the people from the Deshi camp, looking at the 5 in front of him, although knowing there's still quite a gap, Xia Hong felt some confidence welling up inside. It's been over 10 days since the logging team was wiped out. As the leader, he's finally formed the first wave of a small core team. The Great Xia camp has also slightly regained some vitality. Chapter 15:15. Cutting timber and picking fruit. Good news. Grand Ancestor, Long Fist is divided into 4 paths. Small Fight, Grand Fight, Free Fist, and United Battle. In his previous life, Xia Hong mainly practiced this set of fist techniques. Small Fight focuses on short strikes, mainly defensive. Grand Fight combines fists, kicks, and waist into one, focusing power on a single point for offense. Free Fist does not adhere to a fixed routine, aiming to heavily wound the enemy. Head, fingers, palms, fists, elbows, shoulders, knees, legs, hips, and arms can all be weapons, valuing timing for decisive strikes. United Battle integrates battle techniques, suitable for multi-enemy engagements. Long Fist was acclaimed in the past life as the most practical martial arts routine for good reason. It not only covers attack, defense, and killing, but all four strategies can be applied to weaponry. Xia Hong had already mastered the four routines in his past life, making it easy to teach Yuan Cheng and the other 5 men. After teaching for a while, and through observation, Xia Hong gained a general understanding of the 6 men's conditions. Yuan Cheng and Yue Feng both have the most robust physiques, each over 2 meters tall. Although they appear less robust due to long-term hunger, it's believed they'll recover quickly once properly nourished. The small fight techniques, with minimal movements and lower posture requirements, are evidently more suitable for the 2 of them. Lin Kai, Qiu Peng, and Su Ning have more balanced body types, with long reach in fists and kicks, and are more agile than the first 2, thus suited for the grand fight combining fists, kicks, and waist. The smallest and most agile Lu Yang, with exceptional timing perception, leans towards Free Fist. Having learned the fist techniques, the 6 were naturally excited and immediately began practicing, utilizing the energy from the cold beast flesh in their stomachs. Having finished teaching the 6, Xia Hong, after nightfall, grabbed a stone axe and headed out of the cave again. The original plan was to go out and find crystal fruit last night, but unexpectedly ran into Dashi Camp's hunting, albeit returning safely with the snow mane. Not a single crystal fruit was picked. Before having hunting ability, cold beast flesh is a rarity. Crystal fruit is the staple food, thus Xia Hong had to go to the ice tree to pick some. Additionally, the camp's wood is nearly depleted, having only 15 units of wood left after moving from the original cave. Lasting for over 10 days is already quite remarkable. The small fire pit consumes 2 units daily. If the camp hadn't conserved by not lighting fires at night, that little wood wouldn't have lasted until now. Compared to the first time, entering Redwood Ridge this time, Xia Hong was much more familiar with the route. Relying on memories from the last time, he quickly found the location of the ice tree. Xia Hong approached, surveyed the surroundings, confirmed it was safe, then climbed the tree, took out a leather bag, and began picking fruit. All the fruits on the tree were mature crystal fruits, each about the size of a fist, weighing around half a pound. Xia Hong quickly filled over 1,000 pounds, and the leather bag in his hand grew heavier and heavier. Finally, when the bag was completely full, Xia Hong stopped. With the crystal fruit picked, the next task was wood cutting. Carrying the crystal fruit, Xia Hong began heading back. Only when almost exiting Redwood Ridge did he start searching for suitable trees around. It sounds like just cutting down trees, but in reality it's not that simple. Ice tree is definitely not to be cut. Firstly, there might be a cold beast on it. Secondly, they're a food source for the camp with already limited numbers. Cutting them would be akin to cutting off one's own livelihood. Golden frost trees are also out of the question. Principally, they're too sturdy for his stone axe to cut through. Additionally, cold beasts love to sleep on them at night. Disturbing them would not end well. That leaves only the red frost trees as targets. The outer area of Redwood Ridge indeed has mostly red frost trees, accounting for about 90% of them. But the problem is, these red frost trees are all too large. Wherever you look, there are trunks with diameters of 4 or 5 meters, even 6 or 7 meters, with heights of 50 or 60 meters seen everywhere. Deeper inside, Xia Hong even saw ones with diameters exceeding 10 meters, and some even more exaggerated. Seeing these towering giant trees, Xia Hong wasn't sure whether to laugh or cry. It can be foreseen that, as the camp system advances, the resources required for upgrades will definitely increase, so these seemingly inexhaustible trees should be great news. But the problem is, he can't take any of these trees with him right now. He'd love to choose a thick one to cut, but let's not mention whether he can chop it down. Even if he could, he wouldn't have the strength to carry it back. After searching for over an hour, just as Xia Hong's fear of giant objects was about to flare up, he finally found a suitable red frost tree. Over 3 meters thick, more than 20 meters long, similar to the ones burned in the previous cave. Bringing it back shouldn't be a problem. Xia Hong set down the full sack of crystal fruit, took the stone axe from his waist, first scraped off a layer of ice from the bark, then spat into his hands and diligently began the task of cutting the tree. Scrape, 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 scrape. 3 hours later. Bang! The giant tree fell, sending up a spray of snow. Completely soaked and suffering from backache and exhaustion, Xia Hong walked forward, looking at the felled red frost tree, a disbelieving expression on his breathless face. Only now did he realize why Xia Ding and their logging team of 13 only managed to bring back 5 or 6 trees each time they went out at night. Having just broken through the logging realm, Xia Hong took 3 hours to cut down just one tree. And almost to the point of exhaustion. He could clearly sense that his body couldn't undergo such intense activity again in a short time. Meaning a single logging realm can only cut down one tree per night at most. This still assumes ensuring safety. And the red frost tree is already the easiest to cut in the outer area. Before heading out tonight, Xia Hong hadn't ruled out the idea of gathering the 200 units of wood needed to upgrade the small fire pit in one go, leaving the additional 50 units of iron for later. But only after cutting the trees did he realize how hard those 200 units of wood would be. The moment the giant tree was cut down, the camp system's resource bar changed. Resource: wood 5, coal 0, iron 0, silver 0, gold 0. After an entire night's effort, almost worn out, he managed just 5 units of wood. The only way to increase efficiency is by raising the number of people. Once Xia Chuan and Yuan Cheng break through, the pace should pick up. Slowly, no rush. Xia Hong comforted himself with a few words, rested for a while before getting up, tying the bag of crystal fruit to the tree, then hoisting the tree back to the camp. After encountering the snow mane, and now seeing Xia Hong bringing back a tree along with over 1,000 pounds of crystal fruit, the camp members didn't react much. Of course, now that the depleted wood and food supplies were replenished, everyone's hearts felt more at ease. Xia Hong understood that without improving their strength, there wouldn't be significant changes at the camp. So in the days to come, aside from utilizing the remaining cold beast flesh to train, he made nightly excursions. Of course, not every outing was fruitful. The ice tree he knew the location of was emptied after picking from it 3 times. The next time it matures remains uncertain, so Xia Hong began expanding his search area. Fortunately, over the next period, he discovered 2 more trees laden with crystal fruit. In total, he made 6 trips to pick all the crystal fruit from the 2 trees, bringing the camp's crystal fruit stockpile to over 7,000 pounds. With more food, not only did everyone's stomachs get full, but smiles gradually appeared on their faces, no longer as gloomy as before. Besides crystal fruit, Xia Hong cut down a tree each night and brought it back. After 20 days, the wood resource climbed from 5 all the way to 87. Although possibilities for gold, silver, coal, and iron remained at 0, the ability to obtain wood posed no difficulty anymore. Xia Hong remained quite pleased. Thus, following a steady routine until the 24th day, dragging a tree back to the camp, Xia Hong heard good news just as he walked into the cave. Chapter 16, First Collision. Leader, I've made a breakthrough. Brother, I've also reached the logging realm. Xia Chuan and Yuan Cheng both broke through at the same time. Seeing them each lift a 5,000-pound wooden stake in turn, Xia Hong let out a heavy sigh of relief. Logging realm, 3 of them. Though compared to other camps the strength is still weak, it's finally a start. Moreover, during this period, the improvement of Yue Feng and Lin Kai's group of 5 was also notable. As long as they follow the plans and gradually recover to their former state, it's only a matter of time. The next evening just after nightfall, Xia Chuan and Yuan Cheng, looking excited, strapped their stone axes to their waists and followed Xia Hong. I'll say it again, Redwood Ridge is dangerous. You must listen to me outside and not act without permission. Tonight, the main purpose is to familiarize you with our territory, and each of you must single-handedly chop down a tree. Understood, leader? Detecting the seriousness in Xia Hong's tone, Xia Chuan didn't call him brother but, following Yuan Cheng, addressed him as leader for the first time. Xia Hong nodded, gave some instructions to the 5 behind him, and led the way out of the cave while Yuan Cheng and Xia Chuan closely followed. Now that Xia Chuan was also out, the camp was naturally under the care of Yue Feng's group of 5. The camp was well hidden, and as long as no special situations occurred, safety should be assured. Though it was night, Under the light reflected by the snow, Xia Hong could clearly see Xia Chuan and Yuan Cheng's excited expressions. In fact, they weren't the only ones. Xia Hong was also excited the first time he went out. Because they were always in the cave, sealing the entrance during the day. When Xia Ding was around, they could open the entrance for some fresh air at night. Since Xia Ding was gone, for the past month or so, besides him, everyone in the camp had barely seen daylight. People in this world must be cursed. When Xia Hong first crossed over and learned about this world, he had this feeling. Always in the cold, unable to see the light, forced to hide in the shadows, with a vast difference in strength against cold beasts, and also the mysterious deceitful monster claiming lives. The plight of humanity in this world is simply unimaginable. This was beyond a hell-level situation. The real 18 layers of hell might not be worse than this. He didn't know if there were any humans living well, but at least what he saw now was this hellish scene. The Rojal camp might be doing okay, right? Lost in his thoughts, Xia Hong had already reached the outskirts of Redwood Ridge. Tonight's task is twofold. 1. To familiarize you with the environment here, including where the cold beasts are, how to identify them, the local wood types, and the extent of our great Xia camp's territory. The other, you two have to cut down a tree each tonight and bring it back. The excitement on their faces hadn't faded, and Xia Hong didn't dampen their enthusiasm. He led them around the perimeter, explaining as they went. After over 20 nights, Xia Hong had become thoroughly familiar with the 500-meter perimeter. The location of 3 ice trees and 7 golden frost trees confirmed to have cold beasts lurking. The area with the densest distribution of red frost trees, and the spot with the most small red frost trees. After explaining each spot, Xia Chuan and Yuan Cheng stayed silent, listening and remembering everything carefully. Until they reached the location of the 3rd ice tree, and an unexpected situation arose. There was someone near the 3rd ice tree. Unlike Xia Chuan and Yuan Cheng, Xia Hong was always on alert for surrounding activity as they walked. So 100 meters from the 3rd ice tree, he noticed movement over there. There's someone ahead, tread lightly and don't make a sound, let's take a look first. Xia Hong crouched down first, with Xia Chuan and Yuan Cheng following him, moving silently through the snow to the back of a tree, gradually nearing the 3rd ice tree. Though visibility was decent in the snow, it was still night, and they got about 30 meters from the ice tree before Xia Hong saw clearly over there. Upon seeing, his brows furrowed, and his expression turned a bit grim. From that distance, he couldn't make out their faces, but he saw there were 4 people, and one of them was carrying a large knife. They were from the Dashi camp. It was the 5th time Xia Hong had seen people from Dashi camp intruding on his territory. Indeed, after the Snow Main incident, in just over 20 days, Xia Hong had encountered Dashi camp people 3 more times in his territory. In this time frame, he found 3 ice trees in total. The first was on the west side, closest to Dashi camp. The second was over 100 meters north of his usual entry point into Redwood Ridge. The third was this one, further east on his territory. The entire Great Xia territory was only 500 meters wide, and Xia Hong usually entered from the middle. The previous 4 times he found Dashi camp people on the west side, but this time they were on the east side. This meant that not only did Dashi camp people come in boldly, but their level of incursion was also getting excessive. The 4 of you from Dashi camp, you've crossed the line. This time Xia Hong chose not to ignore it. He stood up and walked towards the ice tree, loudly reprimanding them. Upon hearing Xia Hong, Yuan Cheng and Xia Chuan realized those 4 were from Dashi camp, and immediately stood up in anger, following behind Xia Hong. Thieves always feel guilty. The 4 from Dashi camp, originally picking crystal fruits from the tree, jumped down nervously when they heard the reprimand, turning back to stare tensely at Xia Hong. Xia Hong, approaching them, also continuously scanned the surroundings. Dashi camp has 2 archers. He didn't know if they were around. May I ask who you 3 are? One of the 4 stepped forward to inquire about Xia Hong and his group's identity. From the voice, it sounded like a middle-aged person. Xia Hong moved in closer to clearly see the 4 people, all appearing middle-aged. The person who stepped out held the only knife among them. The previous owner of that knife had already been beheaded by the Snow Main. Great Xia camp Xia Hong. You're the son of old Xia Ding. Just as Xia Hong recognized them, they recognized Xia Hong. The man with the knife recognized Xia Hong's features immediately. So young, coming out at night at the logging realm already. Old Xia Ding has a good son indeed. The remaining three seemed to know Xia Ding as well. Whether they were intentionally flattering or genuinely surprised by Xia Hong's youth, they all spoke up. Don't dodge the main issue. You crossed the line picking fruit, didn't you? Hey you. The last person to jump down from the tree was clearly irritated when Xia Hong wouldn't drop the boundary issue. He even took 2 steps towards Xia Hong. However, before the person could say more, the man with the knife stopped him with a hand. Nephew, I'm Wang Ming. I knew your father Xia Ding. If you're willing, you can call me Uncle Ming. Recently, our camp has encountered some problems. The gap in crystal fruits is too big. As a last resort, I brought them here tonight to borrow some food from you at Great Xia. We'll repay as soon as possible. What do you say? Upon hearing Wang Ming's words, Xia Hong's expression turned gloomy. They were toying with him. Xia Hong merely stared at Wang Ming, silent for a long while. But it was Xia Chuan behind him, who couldn't contain his anger anymore. Stealing is stealing, don't say it's borrowing. Brother, don't waste words with them. When the areas were divided by Rojal camp, it was said that trespassing on others' territory was equivalent to murder. I'll go back and notify father to come with reinforcements right now. Hearing Xia Chuan's words, the faces of Wang Ming and his group instantly darkened. Chapter 17, 17 Dashi Camp. If not for the timing being unsuitable, Xia Hong would truly praise Xia Chuan a couple of times. Originally worried that his younger brother, being young, wouldn't be able to keep calm, he didn't expect him to be so clever. Judging from the expressions on the faces of Wang Ming and the other three, there should only be 4 of them who came over tonight. Xia Hong's eyes narrowed slightly, scanning the 4 people, finally focusing on the large knife in Wang Ming's hand, contemplating whether to keep the 4 of them here. His daring to come out tonight was naturally not without backing. Unbeknownst to him, Xia Hong's surveying stance appeared to Wang Ming as if he was considering whether to notify Xia Ding to come over. 3 so young going all out wasn't something Wang Ming feared. But if they couldn't be captured in a short time, or if one managed to slip away and truly called Xia Ding and those people over, it would become a situation of mutual destruction. Wrong if Xia Ding really brought over more than 10 people from the logging realm. Even with this large knife, the 4 of them would face a dead end tonight. After thinking it through for a moment, Wang Ming quickly made a decision. My 2 worthy nephews, there's no need for this. We'll leave the crystal fruit here and depart. We will never trespass Great Xia territory again. Farewell. Having made his decision, Wang Ming didn't hesitate any longer. He waved to his companions to put the picked crystal fruit on the ground, said farewell, and swiftly withdrew with the 3 others towards the west, without looking back. Xia Hong watched them walk away until they disappeared, then turned back after a while and gave Xia Chuan a thumbs up. Good job, kid. Xia Chuan chuckled. We definitely couldn't win a fight, so we just had to flaunt the tiger's skin and scare them away. Hearing this, Xia Hong raised his eyebrows slightly but said nothing. Currently having a direct confrontation with the Dashi camp was clearly unwise. Ever since Xia Ding and the logging team had an accident over a month ago, they hadn't shown up around Redwood Ridge for such a long time. The people from Dashi camp must have already noticed. Otherwise, they wouldn't dare to plunder so blatantly across the border. If time goes on, there's no guarantee they won't figure something out. The previous 3 times Xia Hong encountered them, their numbers were all above 7, so he could only choose forbearance. But tonight only 4 of them came, and they didn't have an archer. Such a great opportunity wasn't something Xia Hong would miss. I believe after this incident, the people from Dashi camp won't be so rampant for a while. But we still need to find a way for Yue Feng and the others to advance as soon as possible. Such bluffing can only be used once or twice at most. Using it too often will backfire. Xia Chuan and Yuan Cheng had already picked up the crystal fruit from the ground. Sensing it weighed over 1,000 jin, smiles appeared on their faces. On the first outing, having such a harvest was indeed something to be happy about. All right, remember the position of the 3rd ice tree well. Next we'll go cut trees. Tonight you 2, each cut down 1 and bring it back. The 2 immediately agreed and quickly followed after Xia Hong. They, east of Redwood Ridge, on the northern side of the slope where the Great Xia camp is located, there's a small mountain about 100 meters high. The mountain is in a vertical spire shape, about 50 to 60 meters wide, the top completely covered with white snow, Only the trees extending out were pressed by snowflakes. The rest of the mountain was formed by dark and deep stones. Not only are the stones black, but coated with a thick layer of crystals on the surface, clearly formed after years of freezing from the chill. On the east side of the mountain, a long vine is hanging down. At this moment, 4 figures were rapidly climbing up along the vine. Despite being over 100 meters high, the movements of the 4 were very quick, reaching the top in just a few minutes. The mountain top is a 50-meter wide platform without a single tree. After reaching the top, the 4 went straight to the center, brushed away the snow on the ground, revealing a 5-meter wide square wooden board came into view. The leader, experienced, lifted the board, revealing a 3-meter diameter hole underneath, from which a flash of firelight shone through. The 4 jumped into the cave one after another. The last one pulled the board back, covering the hole again. Below the opening was a super large 30-meter wide square-shaped space. This space from top to bottom was about 30 to 40 meters, with a layer in between separated by wood and stones. On part of the stone ground, a bonfire more than 2 meters high was burning. Around the bonfire, 300 to 400 people gathered, chatting and laughing. A few young children were playing nearby. The people here were evidently in better spirits than those at Great Xia. The moment the 4 jumped down, someone from the crowd laughed and welcomed them. But upon getting closer, seeing their empty hands, that person showed a puzzled expression. "Old Wang, why did you come back empty-handed?" "Bad luck, don't mention it. Where's the boss? Something to discuss with him." "Practicing archery on the bottom layer." "All right, we'll go over first." After briefly responding, Wang Ming swiftly headed toward the east side of the cave. The east side stone wall extended slightly inclined toward the bottom. Wang Ming walked down following the slope, soon arriving at the bottom of the cave. The space on the bottom floor wasn't much different from the top, with a smaller bonfire burning as well. Near the bonfire were 2 people facing a wooden board on the wall, holding bows and shooting arrows. "Boss, there's a situation at Redwood Ridge." Upon hearing Wang Ming's words, the 2 simultaneously put down their bows and arrows, turning to look at him. Both appeared middle-aged, and their physical builds were similar. Both were thin with hands full of calluses from gripping the bow. Not just the build, even their faces were about 70% similar. However, the one on the left had a scar about an inch long across his face. Along with a fierce expression and slightly dark complexion, he exuded an intimidating aura. The one on the right was 3 shades fairer than the former, with a gentler appearance. Wang Ming walked directly towards the person on the right. Clearly, the boss he referred to was the one on the right. As Wang Ming approached, the person's eyes narrowed slightly, opening his mouth in a composed tone. "What's the situation?" "I just went to the outskirts to pick crystal fruit and ran into 3 people from Great Xia." "Old Ding?" "No, it's his 2 sons." Upon hearing Wang Ming's response, Shi Qing was first stunned, then showed an incredulous look and asked again, "Old Ding's 2 sons, are you sure?" Wang Ming thought for a moment, nodded with certainty. "I'm sure. I got a clear look at those 2 kids. They look very similar to Old Ding, and the age fits too. They must be his sons." "How old are his 2 sons?" "Just the 13 of Great Xia. Where did they get extra cold beast meat to let his 2 sons train?" Shidong, who had remained silent, exclaimed immediately. But after speaking, he turned to realize his elder brother Shi Qing's expression had turned grim. Though Shidong had a rash personality, he wasn't stupid. He immediately realized the key point. "Big brother, you suspect that last time, that Snow Mane was eventually snatched by Old Ding and his group." Wang Ming slapped his forehead, suddenly enlightened. "That's right, that's definitely it. The 13 from Great Xia, their strength is far inferior to ours. Over the years, they could only rely on luck to pick up cold beast carcasses, not enough for their training, much less spare cold beast meat for 2 sons. It's definitely that Snow Mane." With an agreement reached among the 3, their faces all turned ugly. Last time hunting that Snow Mane cost them 3 lives. The one wielding the blade was Shi Qing's 3rd brother, Shi Kong. In the end, it was a rushed escape with nothing gained. Now learning that Great Xia camp had gotten lucky instead, one could imagine their mood. Not only did they get lucky, it's very possible that when they were hunting that Snow Mane, the people from Great Xia camp were hiding in the dark the whole time. Only after they retreated did they come out to reap the benefits. How dare they use such underhanded tricks from behind? When it's time to go to Redwood Ridge, I'll lead the group myself. I want to see what strength Great Xia has now. Shi Qing's tone was cold, his previously gentle visage instantly turning darker. Beside him, Shi Dong and Wang Ming were even more furious.